say first watch?
Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of the First Watch podcast, where one is the loneliest number that you'll ever do, and two can be as bad as one, which is why we now have three hosts for this show, so that we're all together. We don't quite have eight hosts, which might be apt for today, but this is probably a good amount of people to talk about. Um, an excess of movie. We have a new Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming out in the next few weeks, One Battle After Another, which is, to my understanding, a loose adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, starring Leo DiCaprio. And in order to prep for that, we three have agreed to do a little informal review of Paul Thomas Anderson's directorial career. That is his 10th movie. We're not going to talk about nine movies, but instead we've got two episodes for you. And this first one, we're going to be talking about Boogie Nights and Magnolia, his sophomore and junior. I don't know what you call a third feature if the second one's a sophomore feature. Uh,
Tertiary?
third, uh, whatever, his second and third movies. And then next week, or whenever we do the next episode, I say next week, but on the next episode, we'll be talking about his other two uh, Pynchon adaptations, one informal, The Master, which adapts V, and we're going to talk about Inherent Vice, which, as the title implies, adapts Inherent Vice. That'll be an interesting one. I'm not entirely sure what threads we'll pull together. I think today's fit together in a way that's really obvious, but those two might get a little weird and wacky, apart from the Joaquin factor. So I'm looking forward to digging into one of our most exciting working writer directors that we have right now. Somebody that burst out onto the scene as a lot of guys did in the 1990s, and we're going to talk about two of his 90s movies today. Before we kick in, we'll just talk about some things that we've been seeing lately. And even though I've already been talking a lot, I'll start because I haven't really been seeing a lot lately. So I don't have a wealth of things to contribute. Instead of doing that, ever since we did our Kurosawa episode, I've been like not watching movies and reading Shakespeare and Greek plays instead, which has been really rich and rewarding for me. I know, Morgan, you've been on that book train.
Likely thing for you to do.
Not wrong. Yeah, I just finished reading Titus Andronicus, and there may be some future, not first watch, but like future channel content around some of that. No promises, obviously. But my goal is to read every Shakespeare play. There's just like 40 of them. So we're gonna see how far into that I get before tapping out and getting bored and moving on to something else. But yeah, let's see. I did go see Lurker, which is a new movie. Cole, did you see this one yet?
I have not seen this yet. I have not. It's on my
Yeah.
radar, but not a high priority, admittedly.
It, it's a debut film by Alex Russell. Conceptually, I would say taps into something that we've seen done a few times before. It's about a young man who gets basically engaged with somebody who is very famous, specifically is a like a rising pop musician. The musician's name is Oliver, and the main character's name is Matthew, and he works in retail. And he basically gets into this guy's orbit as somebody who can, take photographers, and he wants to become his documentarian. So it centers on somebody who kind of invites himself into the clique, as it were. We've all seen those movies before. I think, what were we just talking about last week, Morgan, where you're like, it's a great example of that
It was
somebody that just
different.
doesn't belong in the friend group.
It's a different man.
Yeah. Similar kind of thing. Very modern, like lots of just thoughts and feelings about parasocial relationships, social media, and the ways that the internet has basically cooked our brains in terms of how we interact with each other and where we belong. So kind of a classic story updated for the 21st century, not like reinventing the wheel in a crazy way, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. It made me think, what would it be like if the movie Saltburn was not total ass? Because it's got a very similar, loser kid wants to hang out with the popular kid, kind of
Mhm.
succeeds for a while, but then overstays his welcome. It gets awkward. Um, just a good movie about like what it's like in the middle of the night when you're like scrolling on your phone compulsively because you have nothing better going on in your existence. So worth catching up with it if you can see it. Otherwise, for me, I will shout a movie that we briefly mentioned last week. I was the only, again, not last week, but the last episode. I was the only one that had seen it at that point. Now we've all seen it, and that is the latest from Darren Aronofsky, Caught Stealing, which is adapted from a novel, stars Austin Butler, and includes a cast of Zoe Kravitz, Griffin Dunn. Carol Reed, not Carol Reed, that's a director. Who am I? Carol Kane and Vincent D'Onofrio, Liev Schreiber. It's kind of got Regina King very memorably is in that film, and it centers on a washed up former baseball prospect from California who's living in the Lower East Side in New York City and working as a bartender who, because of his neighbor, who is a drug dealer, played by, is it just Matt Smith? Why can't I think of his
Yeah.
name? Yeah,
Matt
Matt
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah,
I was because it's so generic. I'm like, huh? Doctor Who, one of the Doctors Who, with in what must be Morgan his career best, right?
Well, it's probably the doctor. I'm
I guess, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. Movie wise,
But
though,
in movies is it's the only time where how much I hate looking at him has been utilized in a way that I found enjoyable.
basically, he plays like a UK punk with a big mohawk. He deals drugs, and he's involved with several different gangsters. There's a Hebrew gang, a Puerto Rican gang, a Russian gang, and he's kind of holding money for all of them. But he suddenly has to fly back home, and they all, of course, believe that he has absconded with the money, which ends up all falling on Austin Butler, his neighbor's head, all because he's watching the pet cat, and he goes next door to get a little bit of food. And from there, it just kind of spirals into some shenanigans. Kidneys are lost, people get beat up, cars are wrecked, people die, lots of people die. I had a blast. It's the best movie he's made in 15 years, easily. So that was nice to see for somebody who has a big soft spot for the American wannabe Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, and as someone who doesn't um really enjoyed
Shouts to the
this.
Christian Youth poster, by the way.
Really enjoyed this because it's so unlike anything that he's ever made.
Hmm.
Uh, he has been for the ever since Black Swan, really, where Black Swan is a good example of this, and everything afterward is not. He has been like in the character study psyche of like
I
this
might
is the most important character that has anyone has ever made a movie about.
I might take that all the way back to '06 and The Fountain. I mean, I like The Fountain. I
Yeah,
love The Wrestler. I love Black Swan, but I think all three of them fall into that for sure. Like the whole huge, like
yeah,
The Fountain's a movie about like a guy trying to break the rules of reality because Rachel Weisz is the most perfectly beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it's just got that
and well,
thing.
that's just true.
I,
yeah. I mean,
I think Aronofsky was dating her or
yeah,
married to her or something at the
They
time.
and
were married, I believe, for a
Yeah.
while.
Hmm.
then Daniel Craig stole her.
I
Um,
understandable. Have
Now
a nice
that's a
day.
hot couple.
There's
it's
not one
amazing.
heterosexual gene between the two of them, but I agree. They are.
Yeah, it's like it's like Ethan Cohen and his lesbian wife.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, this is just super refreshing both for Aronofsky and for movies writ large because this is like a $50 million uh low stakes New York sort of
Yeah.
bouncing
90
around
minute.
town fun movie.
It reminded
Um,
me of Black Bag, not because they're similar, but I feel like they're cut from a similar kind of cloth.
yeah, that cloth being 1994.
Yeah.
Um, and that's I like that cloth. Yeah, I
Shouts
mean
to
it's
Smash Mouth on the soundtrack and
hell yeah,
Magnetic Fields.
and Meredith Brooks. Um,
Great
is that
gowns, beautiful gowns.
Libatiking it up. For me, so like I'll set you up for this one, Cole. Maybe this would be a good daisy chain because I think I know you're reversed. For me, this was the far better elder statesman goes back to New York and tries to make a softies movie compared to Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, which we talked about more last week. This just had more focus and purpose, and it was more fun.
I liked this. I thought it was solid. I'm not really into it as much. I mean, if we're looking back at the last 15 years or whatever for Aronofsky, I personally prefer the camp idiocy of Mother a lot more. but
Okay,
I
interesting
I
take.
I just thought that this was
Heinous.
really one note and kind of flat-footed in some areas.
Hmm. I think it helps, and I know you won't disagree with this. I think it helps that it has probably the best up and coming movie star that we have
Oh, well,
front and
yeah.
center in every scene. That's just like, okay, that helps.
It
And
does help things go a little smoothly.
he's finally playing like a normal guy, which, I like seeing him be a freak, but it's also like it is good for your movie star resume to just be like, I can just be a dude in this situation
Yeah.
and not licking knives.
Did you get, did you throw down the Brad Pitt comparison? Because I like that comparison
I did,
for him.
It
and
makes
then
sense, yeah.
and then Sean Fennessy stole it, I think.
Likely thing for him to do.
He's in the Discord
Yeah.
lurking.
I loved the Russian gangster who's always like, "Take me out, ball game guy," and then Regina King playing the most New York woman to ever live.
So
I do
true.
love the reveal that happens with her that's set up through the black and white cookie eating.
Yeah,
Anyone who bites into both sides at the same time is a fucking psychopath.
you texted me about that, and I was immediately thinking about Allison Williams and Get Out eating the Fruit Loops and then drinking milk on the
Hmm.
side.
Also
Just like,
psychotic.
that's not
Hate,
normal. Don't do that.
hate, hatred.
Uh, Food-wise, I'll also shout out the bagel with the canned tuna on top that Austin Butler is eating.
God.
That is what
He
you
gets it
give to the
slapped out of his
cat.
hand. Great cat cinema. One of the best cats we've had
It's
in many years.
best
Good cat.
cat movie in a long time.
It's the same cat from 2019's Pet Cemetery.
Interesting. Yeah.
Glow up.
I guess I would throw it back to like Inside Llewyn Davis was the last time. And that's got like a
Yeah.
similar, to your point, Cole, about like if it feels one note, it's kind of like, yeah, it's this guy going around getting into situations one
Hmm.
after the other. Um,
A New York Odyssey.
hmm Yeah, I'm always down for that. Plus, you throw in Butler, you throw in the baseball, you throw in the music. And I was just like, I'm having so much fun. For
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
probably the funniest that I've seen, if not the entire year, then in a while. Like this really specifically, I kind of alluded to it. The whole thing with Matt Smith is like you don't trust that character, so you're pretty sure he's fucked over Butler, especially from the trailers, which I have a note on that. But when he shows up and he's actually got the tattoo because he's like his dad died and he has like the wrap over it because it's still healing,
Mm.
it just had me rolling. That trailer, it was a great trailer. It got me excited for the movie. It was why I wanted to go see it. It also gave away for a movie that is like almost entirely plot beats and caper stuff. Why are you telling me 80% of it? Like, I feel like that could flatten the experience for even somebody like me who liked it. Like, I probably will like that movie when I watch it again in 3 years and I know what the whole deal is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. This is really fun. Versus, there's just things that like there's a scene in the trailer. Matt Smith's got the gun and he like shoots it, and you know that that's gonna happen in the movie, and it happens 80% of the way into it. And you're like, why would you tell me that? That sucks. Don't do that. Trailers suck sometimes.
That's just the nature of advertising.
Yeah. I think that there's a way to like rein it in though. Like don't sh I mean you didn't reveal the big reveal, like I'll say like the gun lighter reveal if you guys follow, like just in case anybody
Hmm.
listening hasn't said they didn't give that away.
Yeah.
It's possible. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got. I did they got a Hong Kong John Woo series running.
Ooh.
It's not just John Woo, it's also Sweetheart and Ringo Lam, I think. So I did go see Hard Boiled, which was fucking awesome. And I also saw The Killer and This is Spinal Tap. I saw This is Spinal Tap, but I did not see Spinal Tap 2 because why would I?
I will be doing my utmost to avoid Spinal Tap
I
2.
love Michael McKean and Harry Shearer and Rob Reiner, all too much for that.
Mhm. I'll probably
It
watch
just
it at home
seems
for like year and catch up.
Sure.
it just maybe if they have a joke that is not old.
Right. Old.
Maybe if
The
I hear from the
whole
streets that
I saw like so again, I they showed the original. I watched it, one of my favorite comedies of all time. I'm not a big comedy guy, so like for me, that's about as high up as comedies tend to get. I just love it front to back, so good. And it's about a band that's washed. and like probably wasn't ever very good to begin with. It's not like Morgan's got the Metallica shirt on. It's about a band that is like the hack version of a Metallica or something. Like not even it's really more of an older hair metal than even that. But like they're not
Hmm.
supposed to be good. So the idea that like, oh, hey, they're washed up and old now. It's like, yeah, they were washed up in the first movie. That was the joke.
Yeah, but this time they go up to 12,
Uh,
I guess. I
Wait,
don't know. I'm sure that's a joke in
I
there
I will
somewhere.
shout out one detail of This is Spinal Tap from my rewatch that I'd never caught before, and it made me laugh so hard I almost wanted to throw up. Is Harry
Mhm.
Shearer, who you may know from The Simpsons, because he voices Ned Flanders and Principal Skinner and a bunch of other characters. He plays one of the bandmates in Spinal Tap, and there's a scene where he's like coming through an airport security thing, and it keeps like beeping, and it's because he has his pants stuffed with like a vegetable wrapped in aluminum foil or something stupid. But the joke, the thing that got me was on the loudspeaker in the background of this airport, you can hear a voice, and it's like, oh, that's Harry Shearer. That's Smithers talking while he is himself in the scene. I was like, that's really good, actually. I don't know that it's like a thoughtful joke so much as like, well, we got this voice actor, we'll have him do it. But as somebody who can like clock that all and put it together, it's like, oh, this is great. So one of the
Mhm.
best.
Yeah, fun movie. Really interesting story about how Jamie Lee Curtis basically tracked down Christopher Guest after that movie came out. And she was like, "I'm going to marry him," and she did, and they're still together. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
love's
That's
out
funny.
there, girls. Love's out there.
I have so
Morgan,
much of
what
it
you
to
got?
give. I'll just shout out a couple recent 5 stars. One was a rewatch and a bump, and the other was, well, I saw The Thing in theaters again. I don't need to say that
Hey,
that's as good as it gets.
It's as good as it
Um,
gets. Fuck ET, respectfully.
Church. But the
You're
first
making a
watch that
face, but like between the two, come on. It shouldn't have bombed in favor of ET.
they cooked
It,
that little
a
they
fucking cosmic wrong was committed against John Carpenter, and it kind of fucked him up. Like I don't think he ever totally recovered from it. Even though he
no,
had a great 80s and had a lot of great movies after that,
I,
he
I,
never
well, don't
really
forget, Blade Runner and The Thing came out the same weekend, fighting for the same audience that was getting steamrolled by
take
ET.
me back.
tell
I
him.
will personally go correct the record by watching those two movies enough times to offset the rest of America.
I've come here to see The Thing in 35 millimeter and kick ass.
Yeah,
And I'm all out
chew
of
bubble gum.
I'm all out of ass. Yeah, so I watched that. The first watch 5 star that I got recently was I only have a couple of Coen Brothers movies that I haven't seen, and one of them was The Man Who Wasn't There. So I was like,
Mm,
okay, so that's a deke.
yeah,
I'll pick up a Blu-ray of that. It was like $8 on eBay. Did that. If you ever wanted to see the Coen Brothers do Double Indemnity,
yeah,
uh, and if you don't want to see that, then you don't like movies.
yeah.
That's really it's one of their best. It's Thornton's best work, period. Some of Frances McDormand's best work, and she's
Mm,
not even like particularly verbal in that movie. It's all
no,
like
it's like a
posture and
yeah vibe.
Hmm.
yeah.
There's certain
Um,
images in that where it's just like the two of them on the couch that remind me of Raising Arizona, but obviously it's so much more corrupted and bleak than
yeah,
that couple would ever
it's like
feel.
raising Arizona, but like 30 years and 3 mortgages later or something.
I also almost would call it a proof of concept for a serious man in some ways.
Yeah,
That
it's
just
that
speaks to
lineage
the
is there.
like the ambiguity, the sort of unknowability. There's this great image, for instance, of like Tony Shalhoub as an attorney, and he's like giving a testimony, and
Yeah.
he's in this totally dark room, and he has the spotlight, and the spotlight has like jail bars on it, and it's just this idea of like the more you look, the less you know, the more you assert, the less you understand. It's like a weird. It's easy. I would say it's easily their most underrated, probably. I don't know that there's another
Yeah.
one that really
Maybe a serious man. I feel
maybe a
like that
serious man. Sure.
I feel like that falls through the cracks in a lot of
Yeah,
discussions.
for sure. Miller's
Um,
Crossing is another one that I love that maybe aims gets
Oh,
like a little bit
yeah.
lower, a little
yeah.
lower. And I know Cole, you saw, not to steal your thunder, but you saw the the fifth one, the one that comes after Barton Fink, which is called The Hudsucker Proxy.
Yes,
And
I did.
that's pretty deeply underrated, although I think somewhat appropriately. Like that's I would put it near the bottom for them.
Really beautiful movie. Saw that on a beautiful 35 millimeter print.
Long live the
Yeah,
boys.
that's one that
2006,
I
sorry.
st that's one I still have left to see, and I'm very much looking forward to. The other five-star I'll shout out that got the bump
Mm,
is Francis Coppola's own Godfather.
indeed.
Um,
Hmm.
read the
Monsieur
book,
Puzo.
got as I mentioned last episode, read the book. That got me over the hump into like this is truly one of the best. And I still
Yeah.
think the book is better. I hear a lot of how like it's this pulpy novel that they transformed into a work of American art, and like no, the novel is like a contender for the great American novel.
I would have to
Um,
go back, but that was always my impression of the novel, is it was like Puzo's a great storyteller, but not a researcher. Like the
well, sure,
authenticity compared to something like for somebody like me who came up and like my gangster thing was not The Godfather and it was not Goodfellas, it was The Sopranos, which is like
Hmm.
yeah,
super in the weeds type
Yeah.
of stuff. And then The Godfather's much more impressionistic, which I think Coppola makes into two things: a painting, like an artistic oil painting, and then also like a family story, which everybody can cite at this point, the meat sauce and all that stuff,
Hmm.
Sunday gravy.
well, it's just, all of that is there in the book.
Mhm.
I mean, he obviously makes it look. He and Gordon Willis make it look the way they do, and
Because the book also has what we think of as part two, the stuff with Don Vito in Italy, right?
yeah, all
So
the
you
Michael
actually have like the
stuff.
generational
Yeah,
aspect.
all the Michael stuff in part two is Coppola and Puzo together on that script, but
Hmm.
the Vito stuff is from the book, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
about I don't know, it's maybe 40 pages, and they make like an hour and a half out of it, so that
Mhm.
it's definitely a little beefed up, but that book is brilliant. The movie is it's just difficult for me to understand these characters as much as I do in the book.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
it's like the greatest cast ever assembled, and there's not a foot placed incorrectly there. But it's also like it almost has the Goodfellas problem of it does move a little too fast
Mhm.
for even still being like 3 hours long. I want to marinate in this a little while longer.
I think that's
Um,
where the existence of part two helps for people. Not that you're getting, but like the
Hmm.
thinking of them as a unit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is also just reflective of, the limitations of each medium.
Yeah.
for sure.
The
So,
movie
Because
allows you
this
to visit and get a vibe.
and the book has like two different sections about the Frank Sinatra parallel Johnny Fontaine and like his adventures in Vegas that I found
mhm.
incredibly compelling, but also like where and why would you put this in the movie? Uh, so it's just like one thing is one thing and one thing is the other, but it's also like the parts of it that are there are like Cohen, No Country for Old Men, not really changing even a word or a beat of it.
Sure. Sure, sure.
So
Mm.
it's just I think Willis and Coppola gave it so much, and the actors gave it so much like heft and meaning in
Mhm.
cinema, but they're taking from
Kind
something
of
that
operatic as well. I
yeah,
think,
Absolutely.
it's like a stage play that is broader in its emotional beats and things like that.
yeah. I mean, it's
Hmm.
King Lear, as we
I was gonna
alluded
say I've
to.
been in the Greek tragedy Shakespeare mind, so
Yeah,
that's what
uh,
it makes me think of. The children and passing over the middle child for the last child, XYZ.
Hmm.
yeah, but yeah. I mean, it's The Godfather.
So many
It's
indelible images. Like I think I saw that for the 50th anniversary, which would have been 22, so 3 years ago now. And like the car pulling up and you see the Statue of Liberty in the background, or one of my
yeah.
favorites is during the big montage where they put all the hits out and you just have like the guy in the trench coat holding the pistol while somebody else is about to open the door from the other side. Fucking
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
money. The cinematography of that movie is like, how, dude? And the answer is
It's
because his crazy ass took the reels, opened the canisters in sunlight to overexpose them. Because
Yep.
he's a crazy person,
he's like, I want to make this look like Caravaggio. And then
bro.
he
And it
and then he
worked.
did
It works.
that.
It works.
And then he did it again. And then he did it a third time, but nobody likes to talk about
Yeah.
that, so even I
I
haven't seen that yet.
I owe two a revisit. I've been kind of hoping like one day there would be, like I said, I saw the 50th for The Godfather, so I got to see that
Mhm.
at AMC or something. I need to watch part two again because I'm such a part one guy. I've seen part one so many times, and I've probably seen part two like twice, which
Yeah,
sounds weird, right? I'm just like,
I
eh.
I've seen part one three times now and only seen part two the once.
Mhm,
And part of that is the length. Like even those it's only 20 minutes longer, but it spends so much time bouncing back and forth that it's like
mhm,
it's paced so differently. Not worse in any way, but just very differently that like I'm less eager to revisit it. And
mhm,
especially reading the book where like all of the Michael stuff in two is not present. Like that's all the invention for the movie. I feel like it's a
mhm,
little less everything about that story is in the first part to me. And part two is a little like I'm excited to see if my perspective on this changes on the now eventual rewatch, but it
Mhm.
feels a little B-sides, but like Pixies B-sides, like they're cooking.
I definitely prefer the Grecian tragedy of part two a little bit more. And mainly because I do think that Al Pacino is giving one of the best performances ever given in the English language.
Totally,
I
but he's
I
also doing that in part
definitely
one.
and in many other of his 70s roles. I was gonna
Yeah.
say I often do think about part two as being like a top three-ish Al Pacino. Like it just he's really fucking locked in.
Hmm.
And I think you need him to do that because as Morgan's saying, it doesn't have that same, it's all about the ascension of Michael and how Vito doesn't really want the ascension of Michael and you don't really want the ascension of Michael, but it's like fighting gravity and it's
Yeah.
that type of tragedy. And then this is like I don't think the material's as much there, but then you need Pacino to step up, and I would say that he does. I
Hmm.
always forget the other indelible image. This is the end of part one where she sees him getting the coronation. He's not really getting coronated because he's already been coronated, but it's a very coronation looking image, and he's closing the door on her, or he's not,
Yeah.
but somebody's closing the door on her. It's like,
Yeah. It's the death of the marriage.
I, incredible work. Just
And
that there's a painting unfolding in the crevice of a door, and then you're shut out of it, and it's like,
and like all of what's communicated in part two emotionally is right
Hmm.
there in that scene to me. But
mhm,
it's also great to like see that decay even further because like part one is how a man who was trying to avoid living the life that his father lived
Hmm.
becomes his father and a bad person and all
Yeah.
that.
And
And
also
part
just
two,
watch De Niro fucking cook in
yeah.
yeah,
part.
And then part two is like here's how this bad man becomes the devil, which is
right,
extremely that's movies.
for
Hmm.
sure, 100%. Conversation better though.
Yeah. Crazy to think I was
So
like six when I saw those for the first time.
I was probably
those
pretty
are
young.
like there's you can get away with that if you skip over a couple spots, or even if you don't really.
The horse
They
is
did
really
not
the
skip.
memorable
Yeah.
part, right? The horse head
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
gore of
like
that.
I saw the horse
Hmm.
head on TV
I mean, I think
when
I
I was
saw
really
that.
young.
I think I saw like the Rugrats make a bit about that. You know what I mean? Like cartoons were riffing on
Hmm.
that when I was
Yeah.
a kid, so I was very aware of it. But I saw those, but I never like I mentioned The Sopranos, like I had seen all that. I watched them with my mom, and it was actually my
Hmm.
stepmom. And I was probably like 14 when she really sat me down and was like, "We're gonna watch these. Like
Hmm.
you're going to watch these now."
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. For me, it's just cultural. So, you know.
Hmm. Cole, what you got?
All right. So for new releases, I'm just gonna kick two things out of the way. So I saw Downton Abbey, the grand finale, in which we say goodbye to Downton Abbey for the upteenth fucking time. Julian Fellows is a writer with the very talented ability to create complete and utter bullshit, but make it go down so smoothly and so easily that you don't mind. Because there's some really stupid shenanigans going on in this movie. The main conceit is that it's 1930, Mary's gotten a divorce, and now she's a social outcast. And then there's also the drama of her uncle, Paul Giamatti, has lost the family fortune, which means they might lose the house again. But, you know, of course, nothing ever changes, even as people retire or move away or whatever. So I think they finally are closing the door on the series. And, you know,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it just seems like they're so reluctant. Like obviously it's a money maker, right? So there's
Mhm.
like that
Yeah,
practical reason why you want to make more, but also like they're stuck in TV world of the status quo. Like you said,
yeah.
nothing changes. So it's like, all right,
Mhm.
what are we doing here? What's the
And,
conclusion?
and crucially, this time there's no Maggie Smith. Like
Hmm. Right.
that is the problem, no matter what.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean completely fine. It's like champagne. It's very light, frothy,
Yeah.
fizzy.
You've
Uh,
brought up other Downton Abbey movies before. I could not tell you the difference between any of them. Just like it's like Land Before Time sequels. It's like, yeah, there's like 30. I don't know what any of them are about. And I'm not
uh,
even going to hit you with like
uh,
the rich people in a manor thing because I love novels about rich British people being however they are. But
yeah,
it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, this, The Crown, like we have just such a like hunger for it, I guess.
yeah. People love a soap opera,
I
and
think
that
it does make for
that's
good
what the
TV.
fountain is.
Good
Yeah,
ongoing stories, lots of people in and out, different
mhm.
dynamics.
And that's what we got out of it. In the Dan Stevens died, and it was never the same.
Mhm.
Like that's a traumatic event for millions of viewers. But and then the other movie that I want to bring up real quick for new releases is the movie that is the uh it's the ET to caught stealing's the thing, just completely wiping everything else off the table for right now. The Conjuring. That's
Oh
right.
yeah, right.
The supposed ending of phase one of the Conjuring verse or whatever the fuck.
What if I shoved plastique up my butthole and just pressed the go
Until
button?
Patrick Wilson comes back to play Doctor Doom.
I
I
don't
mean,
hate
listen,
that.
they're talking about a prequel TV series apparently, so who
Great.
knows? But this
Who
is
knew
based.
people were this hungry? I mean, we
Uh,
know. We've brought it up many times organically. We've reflected on it many times. Horror makes money. We know that people like horror. We know that it stays strong even when everything else is weak. Huh? It's like the highest
over,
grossing of these by a mile and it debuted in like late August or something. What are we
and we
talking about?
we
Uh,
we
uh,
are we are writing for outed con artists Ed and Lorraine Warren.
People view them as like a great on-screen romantic couple, which if you ignore literally every single detail about these people's lives and enjoy this as like complete schlock, then I can see the argument for that
They
because
don't have any chemistry. That's like a totally non-romantic relationship.
I don't think
people
that
view it
Vera
as a great
Farmiga can
romance.
act. Throwing it out there. I like Patrick Wilson more of that pair for
I'm gonna
sure.
slap you for this computer screen.
What's her best role?
Departed.
She's not good in it.
Yes, she is.
Next, her act. Well, okay, all right.
He's
Her
good.
accent's fucking dog shit. Anyway, we don't have to get into all this.
That a
A
bad
And
lot of
like
people's
disconnect.
accents in that movie are dog shit.
I'm
Yeah.
being honest, like at least in the first two, I like her in those first two movies.
Yeah, fair enough. If you're saying The Conjuring, I'll go with that. That's
Yeah,
clearly her
yeah,
signature role at this point.
hmm
I
yeah.
just,
No, I
I
like The
think she might be
Conjuring
better.
one and The Conjuring two. I think those are legitimately good movies, and then the rest of the series is just
Agree
falling
with
off
What
the
was the
dog.
side.
last one? The Devil Made Me Do It?
Yeah, that
Whatever. It was
was
like
So
the
there's the
dog
HBO
Devil
water.
Max
movie.
original.
In
Yeah.
between, we did get The Nun two,
Yeah, which is
and
better than the Nun one, but I still wasn't a huge fan.
Nun and Nun two have kind of like a Euro trash quality to them that's kind of fun to vibe with.
Yeah, it's all just in that James Wan, Keela Cooper swamp of like, it's just not fucking for me. It's not for
I'm
me. But
taking a
the more
nap on
fun
the
and goofy it
couch.
is, the better. Like
Hmm.
the more over the top, goofy
Yeah,
and fun it is, and the
yeah.
more it tries to be like, I don't even know if this relates. This is like a different director and everything. The more anything tries to be like the black phone, it's like, no, fuck that. Stop. Go
Mhm.
away.
Yeah.
Different. That's old boy from Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson.
Derrickson.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're making
Black
another
Phone
one of
2
those,
coming
right?
this
Yeah.
fall.
They
Yeah.
are.
It
Who's the
turns
kid in that? And more importantly, what was he in that I recognize him from now?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
no one cares about the fucking kids in that movie. It's all about Ethan Hawke.
I know.
And they turned them into Freddy Krueger, I guess, in this one, the new one. But Last Rites, directed by Michael Chavez, he directed the third one, but more crucially, directed the now
Wow.
expelled The Conjuring verse, The Curse of Ya Llorona. This film focuses on the Smurl haunting which was allegedly something that occurred to this one Catholic family in Pennsylvania for a period of about 12 years, but was allegedly the last case that the Warrens ever took on before retiring and, just becoming full-time public speakers or whatnot. Scam artists, that's their thing.
Grifters.
Yeah.
Grifters, yeah. And this movie is kind of forgets that it's a horror movie for a while. It spends at least, I would say, 80 out of its 135 minutes just focusing on being a family drama about the
That
Warrens and the fact
sucks.
that their daughter's getting married and, they can't protect her anymore from the evils of the world, the demonic evils of the world.
At what
And
point is it like a Jack Bauer thing where it's like, okay, why is it that your life is this eventful? I gotta be honest, like, having a ghost encounter, okay, cool, but like, what are you talking? What, huh? This is why the drama parts of it don't really make sense because now I start thinking about it in like the context of the real world. That's like, mm, that's
yeah,
pretty stupid.
yeah, and then the family that they meet the family towards the end, and it turns out that they have this haunted mirror that was apparently one of the very first cases the Warrens ever took on, and it made them almost lose their daughter in childbirth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the mirror spins around really fast, and I don't know. It's not good. It's not scary, and yet it's making money hand over fucking fist.
Who knows what people are into? As you have said, it's like a whole other world of people out there that are just,
Yeah,
totally disconnected from me. I don't know what they think. I don't know what they like.
yeah. I don't know.
I know what they post on Facebook, and it's stupid. But other than that,
Gen Z must love this series, I guess, because it started in 2013, and now by ending 12 years later, I guess there's enough of a nostalgia bump for that. And then
Look,
again, people apparently like the Warrens as a romantic couple, which is fucking psychotic.
I just want to say that The Conjuring was the first horror movie I watched because I used to be like terrified, look away from the screen during the horror trailers. And then I
Mhm.
watched the first Conjuring, and that sort of broke all the doors down. So if
Yeah.
anybody is in a space to be extremely nostalgic about The Conjuring, it's me, and I'm not.
Uh-huh.
just to
So,
circle back, our friend Jake has posted somebody's review of the Black Phone, David Sims, I think it was. So, funny coincidence. And the kid is Hiccup in the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. That's what I know him from.
okay.
Oh, ugh. And then for rewatches, I'm just gonna bring up two. I saw a 35 millimeter screening of Godard's Weekend at the Academy Museum on
What
9/11, which I
what a
figured
fucking what a fucking
movie to
banger.
watch for 9/11. That movie just absolutely fucking rules.
It's so good. It's just
Best,
like complete insanity. It's like a movie eating a movie.
yeah,
It feels
best.
like something that, I mean, it doesn't feel like 80s Godard because 80s Godard is so specific, but it doesn't feel like a movie from 1967
It,
because it's
it,
so self-aware.
it's the moment where Godard broke off from his 60s period to
Hmm.
basically what else he did for the rest of his career.
Yeah,
Just so angry and bitter and just in a rage about the state of the world.
right.
And film as a revolution, it constantly breaks the form multiple times. Like the part at the beginning where they're telling each other this incredibly scandalous sex story, and
Yeah.
they're in shadow, so you only see their outlines. You don't see their faces.
It's almost like Bergman-esque or
And then the
something, or like
music
a parody of that.
swells constantly. So you're like fighting against the music to hear what they're saying. And it's just a movie where the form is constantly fighting the content.
Hmm. Yeah. Obviously, you've got that big central traffic jam sequence that's
God.
just like visionary, goofy, a little
Genius.
frustrating. Like, um, and then I always think about the ending. Like, that's really stuck with me since I saw it. Because
Mhm.
anytime there's live drumming in a movie, including something like Birdman, for instance,
Yeah.
anytime there's live drumming in a movie, I'm like, this fucking cooks. This is so cool. And it just ends on this big, like, quasi musical sequence, like not the way that you would think of a staged musical, but like there's literally just like a guy that's like beating the hell out of a drum kit while everything's just kind of breaking down, and it was really memorable for me. Like that part of it has really stuck with me
Can
for a long time.
you say some of him? I'm going to have him later.
Oh no, my Hermes handbag! As her boyfriend's fucking bleeding out in the car. It's like on
I mean,
fire.
listen. Boys come and go, but Hermes is forever.
Yeah, such a banger. It's almost like a quintessential Godard experience to me.
I would say
Like
so, absolutely.
nobody else could have put their thumbprints on that.
No,
Like it had to be Francois Truffaut, Agnes Varda, any of the guys in that movement. Nobody else could make that movie. That
no.
has to be Godard. It's essential Godard.
None of them had the anger that it would take
Mhm.
to make that movie
But
at
also
all.
like the playful, Truffaut's very playful, but he's not
Mhm.
playful like this. He's not
Yeah.
playful where he's gonna like put his thumb in your eye about it.
Hmm. He's
There's
not
an
gonna.
unpleasantness to Weekend and to Godard generally that I could see being. I think we don't have to bring up his name. There is a letterboxed user who the three of us all know, and I think like he's got like a 1.5 rating of Weekend that he's like, this is the most coarse and irritating and aggravating movie of all time. Like, all right, you got filtered by Godard. Sorry, buddy.
That's a tough beat.
Tough beat.
As
It's
someone who got
not for
filtered by
anyone.
Godard,
Stephen
that's a tough
McKinley
beat.
Henderson, they didn't get it at GIF.
Well, Breathless is like that gif from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, where he's like, I get it. It ain't making me laugh, but I get it.
Movie's fucking funny as hell. I love
That movie's
Breathless.
awesome.
It's so funny.
That reminds me, we got to do a good art episode
I
of
anytime
all rounds.
any of these Nouvelle
I'll
Vague
I'll go
homies.
in all the way with y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
We should pick something
reminds
more
me,
fun than like La Chinoise, but yeah,
Well,
uh, I
no one
was
wants to listen to us talk about Marxism for 2 hours. So,
I would do it though.
I took a day trip up to New York not long ago to
mhm.
see Glengarry Glen Ross, and we stopped for lunch in some random place. Uh, and they made their own soda, which tasted like dog water, and they were playing Masculine Feminine on the TV.
Okay, that would be worth it. The homemade soda, that's always a gamble, but masculine feminine on TV, that's a good restaurant.
I was just like, this is, and the waiter was like, he was nice, but he was also like kind of a dick. Like it was just the most like
New York.
Greenwich Village experience I've ever had in my life.
I will say, just as we're on the topic, the Godard movie for Godard haters is absolutely Vivre sa vie.
Yeah.
That's
Duly
like that is
noted.
the one to watch because it's very humanistic, it's tender. I would say Breathless too, just because of the Truffaut collaboration aspects of it, the fact that it is
Mhm.
like a crime movie and it's funny and it's kind of like it's just kind of silly. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, Vivre sa vie is definitely like that's the lane you want to go if you're like really not vibing with his whole attitude.
for sure. And then the other screening I want to bring up that I just got back from was
Today,
a
right?
today was a 35 millimeter screening of Steven Spielberg's AI, Artificial Intelligence.
Absolute banger.
I can't believe he made a biopic about Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Practice?
Talking
You
about
talking about
practice.
practice? Not a game.
Practice.
That is one of the bleakest movies ever fucking made.
Okay, walk me through the bleakness because I have my own thoughts about what makes me feel sad about what talk me through it. What's
So
bleak?
you okay, so you've got this robot kid
Yep.
who is programmed to feel emotion, but it is not genuine because he's not human.
I would say programmed to feel a single emotion.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, I mean, he feels other emotions, but he doesn't seem to be programmed to feel fear or annoyance. He's programmed to feel affection
For one person.
for one. Yeah, it's a great point. For one
One
person,
person who
we'll
is
never love him back.
will never love him back is mourning the loss of her son, except
Who's
when the
not dead?
son, yeah, is just in a coma. But it turns out when the son comes back, emotions start conflicting for her, and
It's that
he
little fucker from
just
Lizzie
wants.
McGuire.
Oh my god, I want to fucking punt that kid so bad.
The dad is awful too.
Oh, the dad sucks. She should have kicked him down a flight of stairs for even suggesting the entire situation in the first place. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I think the first half should have been a Kubrick movie. I mean, the whole thing should have been a Kubrick movie. Obviously, it was a Kubrick vision. The second half, it's difficult for me to see Kubrick making the way that Spielberg does it because it breaks out of the house and there's this adventure
I
quality and it's very reflective. And it would only make sense for the Jurassic Park E.T. Close Encounters director to be reflecting the things that he's reflecting upon. It wouldn't make sense for Kubrick to reflect on these things. The
I think
first half, though, that's Kubrick.
I think Kubrick's take on the second half would have been a little bit colder.
For sure. The whole
It would
thing would have been colder.
it would have leaned more into the 2001 but all for sure.
I also think it would be more 50-50. Like the way that his movies tend to be structured, like
Hmm.
Clockwork Orange or Full Metal Jacket, it would be like half house, half everything after the house. And
Hmm.
Spielberg, it's a little bit more like a third and then two thirds.
I do think the thing that people forget about this movie is that Spielberg and Kubrick were collaborating for
Mhm.
a long while up to Kubrick's passing. Like the ending of the movie, which people accuse of being Spielberg's sentimental nonsense,
Oh, that's
that came from
so
Kubrick.
wrong. It's so
That
wrong.
was his note. That was his vision right up to the end.
It's such a perversion of Spielberg's sentimentality. It's
Yeah.
like if you feel the sentimental, a great counterexample. It's not sentimental, but a great like example of a similar thing is the movie Joint Security Area by Park
Hmm.
Chan-wook. If you find the movie JSA to be kind of like silly, goofy, like the camaraderie of these guys, it makes that ending so much fucking worse.
My
And it's
Hmm.
the
colon
same thing in
falls out of
AI.
me.
If you see AI and you feel sentiment and pathos during that last scene, it should be ruining your day. Like
Yeah.
if you feel the Spielberg sentimentality, it's
Mhm.
poisoned.
Yeah. It is completely toxic by the end.
But my point about Kubrick in the first half is like it's a movie about people who are like, well, our kid died. Let's buy a robot to make our feelings not hurt about how our kid died. Like they're so I can see these as Kubrick characters similar to A Clockwork Orange, where it's like hyper
Mhm.
ironic. They are unfucking likable. Whereas I think Spielberg tries, especially with the mom, tries to find her humanity and make her kind of relatable, which works and kind of doesn't work. I wish it were harsher.
I
It's so
think it.
as someone who's on the outside of this movie entirely, like just hasn't seen it for whatever reason yet. It's so fascinating to me that those two guys clicked like they did collaboratively because they could like as directors of the great American works, British works, whatever. Uh, the I can't think of two people further apart.
I think they probably both connected over being considered like these wonder kids of the American cinema. And,
Yeah,
walking into that oddity, like that uniqueness, as they say throughout the movie repeatedly about David.
Just like the kind of innate sense, like from a technical perspective, that innate sense of where to put a camera, how to frame a
Mhm.
shot, how to film a sequence so that it has the most impact. I also think that while we think of Spielberg as like Hook and these other like E.T., very kind of soft, warm, sentimental movies for sure, he is a very contemplative guy and he's very
Uh,
self-critical. Even in a movie like Jurassic Park, which 100% has those warm, gushy, sentimental notes,
yeah.
it's like a movie that questions things. Like it's not quite to that Jordan
Hmm.
Peele Nope thing, but there's a
Yeah.
reason why Jordan Peele's Nope is so indebted to Jurassic Park or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think that that as aspect probably does put him a little closer to Kubrick. Not that I think
Hmm.
that Kubrick is all that contemplative or like self-reflective, because you don't he you know what's interesting? Neither guy, and I know the Fablemans exists obviously now, but that's later. Neither guy is really all that interested in talking about himself. You know how like Charlie Kaufman never fucking shuts up about Charlie Kaufman? That's
Hmm.
not
yeah.
how Spielberg or Kubrick are.
Unfortunately.
I
So that's kind of an
I
interesting parallel.
I feel like The Shining is him talking about himself through the lens of
Yeah,
Stephen
of like
King,
creatives
through the
and
Yeah,
lens of
for
Stephen
sure.
King talking
yeah,
about himself.
I could see that for sure. I could see that for
Yeah.
sure.
No, absolutely. But this is like just such a fascinating marriage between their two sensibilities that, definitely did not land with a lot of people at the time, but keeps
Hmm.
rising in people's estimations.
Yeah, for sure.
Like for me, this is top five Spielberg easily.
This It's a movie for millennials and later, I think, to glom onto more than people that maybe grew up in the 80s and well, some millennial people grew up in the 80s, but like if you're like 70s, 80s and somebody that like grew up on Jaws, and you think
Hmm.
like Jaws is the classic or Raiders, this is so future bent. It's so much better understood as the 21st century has matured. It's really impressive that he managed to do something like that so quickly after the decade changed, so quickly after something like Saving Private Ryan, because it feels
Hmm.
completely at odds with Saving Private Ryan in some ways. Like it feels like a total 180 pivot in the opposite direction. I mean, both of
Yeah.
those movies are sentimental. Both of those movies are dark. Both of those movies touch great American movie genres like war and science fiction, blah blah blah. Like I like them both a lot. But it it it's a movie that only Spielberg could make, but it also doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie. I get why it frustrated or confounded people
Hmm.
compared to like Minority Report, where it's way more like, oh yeah, this is a banger.
Yeah.
Even though it's also got all the kind of like Patriot Act, security state,
Hmm.
surveillance state type things in it, it's much more streamlined and blockbustery.
And as we
It's a Tom
move,
Cruise movie.
yeah,
For sure.
right. And this one is, well, it's a Jude Law
I
movie.
was gonna say like Jude Law as like a doll who is a prostitute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always hear about the Haley Joel Osment plot line in that movie. I have no idea what Jude Law is in
He's
that movie.
Gigolo Joe.
Yeah.
That really
Something
doesn't fill in any more gaps than I had
there's
previously.
something I noticed about the watch this time. The second half, there's something a little Wizard of Oz about it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like because
Doctor No.
there's like the Pinocchio element to it.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about Blade Runner because 2049 picks up on the Pinocchio thread. I think there's actually a shitload of crossover. I think Villeneuve knew that. Like, I think that he understood and conscientiously was aiming towards some AI stuff. And
Mhm.
therefore, it creates this other link back to the original Blade Runner where both of the android characters in those movies, Roy Batty and then Kay in the new one, are both looking for a father, like Frankensteinish, right? They're
Yeah.
looking to go meet their maker.
Hmm.
Um, and just like in Wizard of Oz, there is just like a deflated sense of like, oh,
That's it.
that's it.
Hmm.
Mm, fuck. Except we don't get to go back home to Kansas. That's maybe the
Yeah.
bleak part, right, of the ending is that there is no Kansas for this little boy.
Hmm. Yeah. Or even if it is
Uh,
extremely fucking temporary.
Hmm.
and nobody crushes the wizard's eyes, their thumbs.
Yeah. Shouts
Yeah.
to The Shining. Old Lloyd. Lloyd the
Yeah.
bartender.
Featuring the sweeping shots from The Shining at the end of the theatrical cut.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The
Same.
theatrical cut nobody's ever fucking watched in 20 years, 30
I've
years.
watched it. I did my homework.
Yeah. All the
I'm
narration
never gonna do that again.
of all the
Oh
bars she could have walked into type, like, dude, why are you talking over the
God.
evangelist? Stop.
God.
Because
God.
they
All that,
told
and
them
then
to.
Harrison Ford drops the N word, and you're like, oh my God, what?
Warner Brothers held that man at gunpoint and said, narrate the N-word over this movie. And he was like, fine.
Yeah. Personally, I'm a 1991 director's cut kind of guy, but
Yeah.
whatever floats your boat.
No, director's cut's good. Final cut's like what's the most available in the
Hmm.
highest definition. So it's probably the one I've seen the most.
I'm just not big on having the modern CGI in
Yeah, it's
Runner.
don't do the unicorn dream, don't do the eye thing. Let the mystery be the mystery, okay? Just let the mystery be the mystery. We don't have to know.
But
It's all
yeah,
right.
no. AI, incredible movie.
Yep, real good. I don't think it's quite top five for me, but it's just outside. And just
Mhm.
the density of the things in the top five is like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling bad about putting it below Raiders of the Lost Ark. So yeah,
We wanna
that's
cut into the meat
yeah,
of
let's
this
do it.
Yeah.
episode.
So Cole, I was wondering, can you give us like a geography lesson of or a history lesson as the case may be of Southern California? Can you tell us a little bit about San Fernando?
All right. So here's the thing about Los Angeles. It is
First of all,
split.
watch Chinatown.
Of all the things you could have said, all right. It's not
Ex
bad.
where we had to move the city to the valley.
Yeah, okay, okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. LA is split by a mountain range. That's where the Hollywood sign is. That's where Griffith Park is. That's where the observatory is. All the billion-dollar houses are scattered along it until they burn down in whatever fire. So on the southern side, you have Hollywood, you have Santa Monica, you have Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, Inglewood, everything going down through there, all the way down to the ocean. On the other side, on the upper side of the mountains, you have San Fernando Valley. So you got North Hollywood, you got Burbank over here, you got Pacoima, Van Nuys, you got Glendale a little bit going that way. That's not really the valley, but you got like Thousand Oaks and Calabasas and whatnot. So San Fernando Valley, first thing that everyone tells you, it's always hotter. It's always 10 to 20 degrees hotter because it doesn't have that ocean air coming in. And the other thing is that most of it has not changed since the 70s. Most of it still looks like the set of Licorice Pizza, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It is a place caught in a specific period of time that has not modernized that much.
yeah. I think that's visible in the two movies that we're talking about today, specifically the latter. It's
Yeah.
visible in both because the first one that we're talking about, it's my camera sucks, so let me pull it a little closer. The first one we're talking about is Boogie Nights, which is set in the San Fernando Valley, specifically in the 1970s, at a time near the end of a boom of celluloid pornography, the golden era of making porn on film and showing it in the theater. Shouts to our guy Pee Wee Herman, fucking Paul Rubens. May he rest in peace.
We will never forget the grave injustice done to your name, sir.
Indeed.
What else was he supposed to be doing in that theater?
Right. Like what? Please.
Shouts to Taxi Driver, and other such films that kind of teach us about that point in time when things were different. Obviously, the three of us are from a later era where even what the pornography that this movie evolves into goes away. And like really, it's even evolved since I was younger. Because when I was younger, porn is DVD quality. It's like video, like camcorder, and it's a very specific flair. And now it's evolved to being, cell
Com
phones,
it is
OnlyFans.
completely democratized.
Right,
Mhm.
right. You've got the little ring lights and everything. Like it's so individual. So it's like really the trajectory of porn. The step that I skipped is what this movie's about. The progression from
Mhm.
film to videotape. Like
Yep.
so that porn now ceases to be something that you watch in theaters, and now it's something that you can buy or rent on videotapes and masturbate to in the comfort of your own home. And no longer in public where you can get arrested for it, which is, I imagine, pretty enticing if
Yeah.
you want to watch porn in this time.
What were the cops doing in there? Hmm?
What do you think they were doing?
And then it progresses from there to DVD. DVD coincides with the earliest days of online. There's a lot of professional stuff, but the progression goes from professional to amateur. So that really they're trying to, and I realize I'm getting off of Boogie Nights and I'm talking about a whole other thing, but it's about shaving the partition between entertainment and reality so that you can make the pornography look as real, as authentic as possible with this amateur edge.
Mhm.
That conflict is the centerpiece of Boogie Nights because it is all about the death of the industry, or really its evolution, its changing tide. Yeah, Bob
It,
Dylan.
it's the rise and the fall. It's the hangover of the 70s and the 80s, right when Reagan takes over the world.
hmm and being in this place that makes that feel very nostalgic. I would say this movie reminds me quite a lot of like Dazed and Confused, even though like it's 90s looking back at the 70s.
Hmm.
Obviously we're out of high school, but only just for at least a couple of these characters
Not for
who are
Roller
supposed to
Girl.
be. I was gonna say like she's in the high school
Hmm.
classroom and she dips.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing, and
Oh,
I'm getting ahead of this comparison that's probably going to come up more than once. It also reminds me heavily of The Long Goodbye, and it strikes me as if a young Paul Thomas Anderson was watching that movie and looking at Elliot Gould's Neighbors, which is like these six topless women who are always like partying and doing crazy shit in the
Mhm.
background scenes of that movie. He's like, what if the movie took place there instead of in
Yep.
Philip Marlowe's house?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So the genesis of this movie is actually a short film that Paul Thomas Anderson made, even pre-Hard Eight, called
Mm.
the Dirk Diggler story. Not really notable for anything other than the fact that it does have the Colonel in it. He plays the Burt Reynolds part in that short film. But a
Mhm.
lot of the genesis of even that is a documentary called Exhausted, which is about the porn star John Holmes, who was like the guy in porn. Like there are parts of Boogie Nights that are outright ripped from that documentary. Like the part where Dirk is like, Jack lets me block all my own shots in the movie, and then Jack leans over to the director of whoever's filming them and says, "I don't let him block his own scenes." That is in the Exhausted documentary. So it's sort of it's a combination of 26-year-old coked out PTA's adoration for Altman and Scorsese
Hmm.
and the San Fernando
Yeah.
Valley itself, and a genuine sort of empathy with uh, sex work
Hmm.
in that
Mhm.
time. I mean, because it was one of the leading industries and money makers of that area for
Yeah.
multiple decades. Uh, and it personally, Paul Thomas Anderson has copped to, this has given me some joy in my life. I am a bit of I have been a bit of a connoisseur of the pornography.
There's also just the basic nature of the intersection of sex work and entertainment, like of filmmaking, right? Because there's certain parts of this where it's like, oh yeah, we could be watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood here. We could be watching any number of different movies about making movies because we're just
Yeah.
looking into the lens of the camera as it's, the focus is being pulled and you see it, kind of the iris going in. That's such a good
Mhm.
shot.
And the explicit stated goal of Jack Horner, the Burt Reynolds character, is that he wants to make art. He phrases it like when they're sitting in their joy juice
Yeah,
after
but
they've
I don't want him to
finished.
get up until the movie's
How
over.
do we get them to stay?
Yeah.
So it's like it is this lurid fascination that Anderson has at this time of like where does art and entertainment and purely pornographic
Mhm.
interests, where do those things begin and end?
Mhm.
I think like just to and I realize I'm talking a lot about the meta here, but in terms of like what was pornography like in the early 2000s? It's camcorder, you're right there, and there ain't fucking nothing. And it's hardcore pornography. You go right into sex scenes versus
Mhm.
even just dialing it back to the 90s. It's like softcore. There's storylines. Like people know each other, right? And they're playing
Mhm.
darts together or something. It's like there's this
It's just like, damn, nobody wants to call the plumber anymore. Like, come
right.
on.
That's no extra large sausage pizza delivery.
And there's,
And
it's the same like 10 to 20 actors that you see in all of those movies, and they make like
or if yeah,
500 of them each.
in the movie Red Rocket, he talks about having like 500 credits or whatever, the Mikey Saber
Yeah.
character played by
Yeah.
Simon Rex. That's a great we'll get to that. I have a question about the Horner character. So there's a Quentin Tarantino take on this movie that I heard one time about how he's like, yeah, the director he's supposed to be like portraying was not as much of a hack as he is in this movie. Like when he makes like the karate film or whatever with John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg. And I have that question because it's like I don't know how much I'm supposed to believe the not the Colonel. I don't know how much I'm supposed to believe Jack when he says I want to make art. Does he really want to make art, or is he a hack? Or is he a hack that wants to make art, but he's never going to because he's a hack? Because
I
right after that conversation, there's the point when the script they're going through the script of the scene that they're going to shoot, and it's like him and William H. Macy, and he's like, okay, so we come in here and they start going at it, and we go over here and they start going at it, and they come over here and they start going at it. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? It's all fucking. Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
like a
mean,
tension with the character there that I'm not quite sure how to
I
resolve it.
my read on it is that he genuinely does want to make art, especially with the advent of those karate movies with the I'm not gonna remember the fake character's name that Dirk Diggler plays, but him and Reed Rothschild's buddy cop uh
Mhm.
series of films that he like wins awards for and all that. Those are like the what he graduates to from the first things that Dirk makes on those sets. And he gets the confidence to make those kinds of movies with once Dirk arrives and he's like, okay, I have a real leading man now. So he is a hack and he all he really knows how to make is porn. And you know, those movies do well for a while for them. It's good business for them, but it's also, they make like nine of them or whatever. And it's still he's caught in such an interesting place because I do think he genuinely wants to make art, but the demands of pornography and the demands of quote unquote high art filmmaking are wildly different. Nobody
Mhm.
makes nine sequels to something, and if they do, it takes you either Bond or it takes 30 years. So it's just
It,
he's sort of stuck between his own ambition and the demands of his industry.
there's like a budget thing too. Like, and I realize budgets in the 70s are way different than budgets now. But he's talking early on and he's like, it takes 20, $30,000 to make a picture. It's like that's cheap. Like, that's
Yeah.
very cheap.
Mhm.
Even at that time, that's very cheap.
Yeah, when movies were like $20 million, like those were
Mhm,
the highest end movies. Like,
mhm.
you know, you're making stuff for a tenth of that.
But this is also, yeah, it's an interesting point to pick because we're a little after the full boom, but this would have been like the Deep Throat era of pornography, a movie
Yeah,
that funded the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which we talked about last time.
and allegedly made more than Star Wars if you ask the right mob accountant.
Yeah. And that's not even something I have all that much trouble believing, frankly. Uh, the uh, the interests of the American people are always more lurid than
Yeah,
they would have you believe.
it is crazy to think about the amount of pornography theaters that existed at one point in time, and now in LA, there's only one left. It's called Tiki Adult Theater Inc. It's the last one in the city.
Mm.
Still open in 2025. I
Have
don't
you
think you
been?
can go. No, and I don't think you can book off in there, but they do show stuff, and you can apparently stay all night long if you want.
I wanna see a movie about the guy who's working the graveyard shift at this theater.
I think it's
Yeah.
actually open 24/7.
That guy sees some stuff. But that's another interesting point, because really the fall of this movie, in this traditional Goodfellas rise and fall nature of it, the
Mhm.
arc that's there in the structure of it is like Jack Horner's business goes right side up for a little bit because he refuses to adapt
Hmm.
to the way that
Mhm.
pornography is further and further increasingly democratized,
Hmm.
by,
Yeah.
people who can just make it by themselves for, the budget of which is however much it takes to buy a cassette recorder and print off enough
Mhm.
tapes to sell at retail.
Yeah.
And his main benefactor, main financial supplier also gets busted.
Yeah, he's a less than savory character, as it,
Yeah.
shocking.
Crazy that the guy's spending thousands and thousands and millions of dollars on making porn is kind of a freak.
The dirty money goes away, and then just the general public's patience has
Hmm.
run out. Like
Hmm.
they don't want to see that in public anymore.
Right.
They don't want to see anybody doing coke. I mean, a big thing about this, like this rise of conservatism, happens to Amber Waves, the Julianne Moore character, who loses out on custody because she's seen as not having a safe job for raising a kid.
Right. Which is something I think that the movie empathizes with her about while also kind of demonstrating that maybe if only because of the emotional turmoil the situation causes her, is
Hmm.
kind of true. Like, there's some validity to it, you know. There's definitely at least one part where we go from like, hey, they've got this kid calling her mom, her name's Maggie. Is there a Maggie here? To her fucking doing lines off the table and shit. It definitely makes the case that like, not that anyone's doing, you know, I think the Roller Girl high school scene that we alluded to is another good example of this, where it's like she's so looked down upon and also just doesn't really fit in the type of area where the world wants her to be, right? She's not
Hmm.
gonna fucking do math class, man. It's just like it's just not I'm not good
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this movie is about found family.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
the thing that a lot of movies are about. Uh, but you see this with Roller Girl rolling her way out of math test. You see it with Dirk's really sort of heinously unpleasant mother.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and like
I
My
wonder
maybe
if
the
Paul
God.
was
best.
working through anything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's to say?
Maybe that meant nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh, and that's
Anybody
like
want to
st
ask Fiona Apple?
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
More
mm,
on her soon.
yeah. I think maybe like that's probably Wahlberg's best performance scene
Un
in that scene.
mm, it's The Departed.
I
It's The
think it's
Departed.
this.
It,
He's
I
too
it
much.
see it.
He's too much himself in The
it's
Departed
one
for
of
me.
those two.
The
Yeah,
reason why I think it's The Departed is because it
From
doesn't
not
just
anything
depend
else.
on here, it's really dependent on his casting because he seems like naive but sweet and a little slow, you know, and it just feels like Mark Wahlberg. Whereas in that one, I don't know. But I love him in The Departed. He's so good.
It is funny that he regrets this movie publicly, and yeah, it's still probably like one of the best things he's ever been attached to.
Yeah, certainly.
yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, were we supposed to worship Ted or something? Like,
Yeah, that's the thing is like the Ted movies are really vulgar, man. Like it's not like those are squeaky clean. They're talking about like there's a point Seth MacFarlane's just like riffing about looking at cocks and porn. I don't know, dude.
I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
prayers up or whatever he does, I guess.
Father Stew.
it,
God.
but it is these young people that don't really have a place or a home anywhere. And
Hmm.
so, him and Roller Girl find Jack Horner in that club, and he is openly accepting and loving immediately, and, you know, lures them in with each other in many ways. And everybody is so outwardly, there's like a non-spoken agreement of like, this is all what we do. So we're not really allowed to judge each other
I
in a
think
way that's particularly open. And I think that's
Yeah.
sort of these are things that, Dirk and Roller Girl for whoever. There's not very much of this about Roller Girl other than the high school scene, but there's enough there for us to be like, this girl's kind of an outcast because she's more promiscuous than other girls. And that in the way that it does for young women, that sort of sets her aside in the particular social hierarchy. And then on the other hand, she's introduced to this freewheeling, open, loving, drug-rich, sex-positive society within a society. And it's like even more than something like, say, Goodfellas, where you have to be lured in. You have to understand why a character would flee to this life.
and there's
I
murder.
understand, yeah, I understand and empathize with the decisions that these young characters make here even more, even if it
They're
all sort of
looking for
turns to
love,
shit
not
in the
power.
same way. Yeah.
Love,
Yeah.
attention, validation, not just like, oh yeah, I want to tell people what to do and make a lot of money. Um, I'll challenge just I mean, I'm not really challenging. You know that there's a rise and a fall. Like that there the the complicated thing is that all of this is based on an economic ecosystem. As long as this is profitable, they've got a place to stay. As long as there's, you know, they can be creating something and putting something into the world. Like they have a place that's loving, and maybe Jack genuinely loves them or Amber genuinely loves them, but ultimately this is all bankrolled. And if there's no bankrolling of it, then they're just as alone as they ever were. They don't
Yeah.
have like there's nothing holding all these people together except an industry that they're all part of, a job that they all do together. And so you
Mhm.
see how the instability of the job creates an instability of their social circle as well.
Yeah.
And then also you've got like Little Bill, the William H. Macy character and his wife, and you have like that whole thing of they themselves, even though they may be more accepting, have not entirely shed the desire for like monogamous committed marriage relationships. Like you married a porn star and she's always fucking other guys, and but that's a problem for you, right? So there's these weird emergent difficulties because they're not just living in a society within society. They're living in like an inverted society that's like we've flipped it 180 degrees as
Mhm.
opposed to like we've softened it. So
Yeah.
now you you maybe can't walk between both worlds as easily.
Yeah, I mean that w what I'm describing is the first 30 minutes, and what you're
Yeah,
describing is the rest of the movie.
the rest of it, right.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it's
That's
also there in the
right.
beginning. If we look, like Amber is distressed about her son in the first couple times that we see her. We see that Roller Girl's obviously like got difficulties with school. We see that Dirk's got the things. We see that Little Bill is struggling with his wife. Like that's all in the first 30 minutes. The seeds are planted for these things to get out of hand later on.
Yeah.
So they're there. And I like that. For a Rise and Fall movie, it's not just like, oh, everything's great. Woohoo. It's like, no, there were issues being
yeah, I
masked by
mean,
all the success.
because really, Reed mentions Star Wars that he gets
Mhm.
told he looks like Han Solo, so it's at least after 77. So we're like at the
I think it's
beginning of the
79,
end.
80. Because the
Yeah,
New
Yeah.
Year's scene
because I
obviously
know
takes us
they,
to
they
80.
they for sure shift to 80.
Yeah.
Um, but it is the beginning of the end right here. It's not
Talk,
like from the 50s to the
mhm.
70s like Goodfellas does.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about starting a new decade with a bang.
Well,
Yeah.
hey,
So
Mhm.
like obviously we could knock him for just openly stealing from other people or whatever. I don't all cinema steals. Who gives a shit? William Shakespeare stole. Who cares?
Influence is influence.
It's not that fucking important. What is important is Goodfellas happened in the third decade of Martin Scorsese's career. The third decade, all right? 70s, 80s, and then it's the early part of the 90s, obviously. Bro is doing this shit in his second movie in the opening scene.
he's
Like
26.
he's like, I'm gonna do some Orson Welles type beat and just lose my mind for 2.5 hours.
There
Like
is
what?
a I know everyone wants to say, "Oh my God, can you believe a 26-year-old?" I can
Oh
believe a
yeah.
26-year-old made this movie quite easily because
Like
there's
from the opening scene where it's like the needle drop into the neon sign, and then we go up to the Reseda sign, but you're like
mhm.
sideways crawling up. It's like who thinks to do this?
Yeah,
There's
he's
a
like just imagine him talking to Robert Elswood, who is like 20 something years older than
Yeah.
him, and he's just like, "Okay, kid, sure.
yeah. There's
It'll look cool. I'll give you that. It'll look
yeah
cool.
yeah
We'll do
there.
it."
I don't want to say there's a try hardness to both of these movies we're discussing.
A hundred
That
percent
sounds
there
like
There,
is
it's
to
there
Magnolia.
totally is.
Yeah, a
right, only
hundred
because it
percent
sounds like
Magnolia.
slightly derogatory, but there's like the cockiness of a 26-year-old in this movie who wants to be seen as one of the great American contemporaries and is like doing every single stunt in the book to try to convince you that he is.
Yeah, yes.
And it works for the most part.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely see it. I definitely agree because in your tone you're implying like and that's a problem. Like and it cuts into compared to I'm gonna look forward, but I'm gonna talk about two movies that we don't have on our radar. There Will Be Blood, and compared
Mhm.
to like Phantom Thread,
Yeah.
especially, there is such an easy. Now, There Will Be Blood is fucking fireworks from the beginning. There is no lack
Yes.
of trying hard. You know,
Yeah.
there's the whole try hard thing always gets me because it's like, I mean, should you not try hard? Should you
Yeah.
not be putting all of your fucking? I know if Jake were here, he would have a very compelling thing because he's the one of all of us who likes the most kind of maximal, like make every shot count, make every scene count, make every dialogue choice count, shoot everything like you want to fucking shoot that thing. Not like it's boring, not like it's just to get you from point A to point B, but like that is the key thing that you were here to do today. And I would say that that is how I would put it is this kid is a fucking virtuoso, and there's no arguing it to me. Like,
Mhm.
the best example in this movie is the Alfred Molina scene with Jesse's
Yeah,
mom. That is a
yeah.
virtuosic filmmaking fiesta. Like he's
Mhm.
going nuts the entire time. With Magnolia, which we're not into yet, it's maybe the two music numbers in that movie. The one is the loneliest number, and then the Wise Up are probably the two that strike me as being the most like that. But he just has a knack. And yeah, I agree. But it's true of Kubrick too. Like at least from a
Mhm.
formal perspective, with something like The Killers or The Killing, and just like early Kubrick stuff where he's just so flashy. Lolita, so flashy every shot. Um, but it's less controlled here. But I like the lack of control. This is more of Magnolia talk. So maybe I should not get too far off on the tangent. I just find his unruliness in these first ones really compelling. The very next thing he's going to do after these is Punch Drunk Love, which is like 90 minutes, really tight, really focused. And then There Will Be Blood, which just again feels of a completely different level of sophistication,
Yeah.
if not necessarily complexity or ambition. Like it's sophisticated, cleaner,
There's
more
there's that
assured.
there's that 5 year break where he really matures into himself.
Mhm,
And of course there will be blood kicks that all off. But going back to this, it's like the cockiness of youth.
mhm. Which I think
Yeah, it's
fits Diggler. I think it
Yeah, it
fits,
does to a
like
T.
yeah, I think if this movie is any less purely hungry than it is, because you can feel Anderson's desire to be seen as someone who is like stepping out into the world as a virtuoso. It's not
Yeah,
at all dissimilar to like the Vox Lux brutalist
yeah,
phase that Courbet
sure,
is
yeah,
in right now.
sure,
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Um, you can argue about how effective one is versus the other all day, but it
Hmm.
is very much of the same mindset. And I think if it's any less hungry, if it's any less bold and cocky and funny, this is an intensely like funny movie to me
Hmm.
for, you know, an hour and 20. And then it's like we're laughing. I'm sad. Oh no.
Yeah.
He got his dick out. Um if it's any less than what it is just we're writing this off as a Scorsese ripoff. It's like it's a
Hmm.
decent first or second try for this kid who would go on to do something really these really great movies. But the way that we talk about it like it is because it is the way that it is. And if it's any less than that, even if it's by like 10%, I think it sacrifices its singular character. Because like the Scorsese movies, the Altman movies, they all have their funny parts. None of them are as outwardly, except maybe After Hours, none of them are as outwardly absurdist, plain-faced, but people are saying the silliest things to
Hmm.
you. Like where Melora
Just like John
Walters
C. Riley reciting a poem in the hot tub.
Yeah, and Laura Walters is
Yeah.
just like, my tits are too small and my pussy's too big or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's like people are just saying things. Like, what do you bench? About like 280 or whatever he says.
I
It's just
like
like
lollipops in my mouth and butter on my ass.
if if it's any less that
Yeah.
in that moment, then we're not talking about this movie, though, and we're not dedicating half an
Yeah.
episode to it.
If it's even like 10% more insecure, then it completely falls apart.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess that's a good word for it. And that's why I made the comment in the middle. Of these two, because of the nature of the subject matter, look at the William H. Macy character, Quiz Boy Donnie Smith.
Hmm.
Magnolia is much more insecure. But I don't think that it's necessarily like an insecurity of like his talents or gifts as a filmmaker. It's just like insecurity about like my place in the world and everybody's place in the world and like what it means to be
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. The
But
thing is,
this one's way more cocksure, right? Just
mhm.
Dirk Diggler versus Quiz Kid Donnie Smith.
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
meaningful
Yeah.
dichotomy of attitudes.
Boogie Nights is the mania. Magnolia is the psychotic break.
It's yeah. Mm,
It's
I,
10 o'clock versus like 4 o'clock in the morning on a quick binge.
Pretty six fat part girl bumping that.
Dum, 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 dum.
What's interesting is that it actually it does feel like Magnolia should be the God Only Knows movie of these two, but this is the
Mhm.
God Only Knows movie of these two.
Which
Great
and
fucking
and
needle
it
drop, man.
it it,
Yeah.
it that's one of my that's like top three needle drops in
It's
movies
like
to
the
me.
best pop
And
song ever written,
well,
so I
yeah,
get that.
uh,
Just about.
uh, and it's like I love the Best of My Love needle drop at the beginning almost as much,
Yeah,
and
that's a
that's
great
also
one.
like one of the best pop songs ever written. But it makes so much sense to me that this is the God Only Knows movie because it is trying to imbue so much empathy for these people, and especially in like 1997, we don't think about sex work the way that we think about it now. It's not
Mhm.
really, this is feels like a concerted effort to make these people feel like people. None of them are exactly the brightest bulbs in the bunch, which is an interesting note.
Mhm.
But they feel lived and realistic, and none of it really feels like out of step with what these
I
people
never
would
get the
do.
sense that Paul, even though he's making a joke out of it, he's not really belittling them for any lack of intelligence. It's
Mhm.
No.
just about how, none of these kids were going to go to Harvard. None of these
Yeah.
kids were going to go to fucking MIT. That just
Mhm.
wasn't who they are. It's not
Yeah.
what they were into.
And especially in a decade that was full of movies where sexual deviancy or not being, anything else other than missionary under the sheets for 7 minutes meant that you were like a knife wielding psychopath.
Hmm. I was going to
Sounds
say there was like a lot of,
Silence of the Lambs, Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction earlier than that
uh,
in the late 80s. So you just have
obviously
these
Seven,
like,
Scream, Cruel
just,
Intentions.
yeah.
There was a lot of sexuality in the cinemas, but it was always like danger. It had a
Mhm.
tinge of danger to it.
It was always the
And
threat. It
this
was
is
looming threat.
and this is like a strangely it's not, you know, absent of it, but this is a strangely unhorny movie for its subject matter.
Yeah,
It's like
Mhm.
it's horny for camera movements
for
than
sure.
it is like, the
I've
anatomy of people.
we have collectively mentioned it the name a few times. I specifically went in on it. An underrated influence on Paul Thomas Anderson, I think, is Stanley Kubrick. You can see it really clearly in There Will Be Blood. I think you can see
Mhm.
it pretty clearly in certain moments. And I was thinking about Clockwork Orange when it's just like after the first night where he meets Jack in the club. Um, Dirk is in front of the mirror in his undies. And I was like, this just gives really strong Alexander Delarge vibes. Like
Mhm.
where it starts off on like a poster, there's like a Serpico poster in the room and it spins around. And I was like, and the mother, like the way that he conflicts with the parents, I was like, this just has like a really
Yeah.
strong Clockwork Orangey vibe. And that's another
Sure.
movie along with Eyes Wide Shut that are like laden with phallic and sexual imagery that are not sexual at all. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't think that Paul is that way about it, but it's just an interesting comparison of something like where you almost throw so much sex at me that it becomes not erotic anymore. It
Well,
becomes mechanical and
the,
fleshy.
the thing that Boogie Nights speaks to is just like the reality of filming sex scenes is that it's hot. You've got all these lights
Right.
on you.
Freeze
You've
frame. We got to change the reel.
you've
Hold
got
it.
someone over at the snack table munching on a bagel, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Like you have no privacy.
It's all these lights.
You've got
It's
dozens
probably
of people running
noisy.
around on set.
You
Yeah,
got Philip
nobody's
Seymour
there.
Hoffman moaning and groaning while he's holding the boomstick.
You're working with prosthetics unless you're actually doing it like they are in
Really
porn.
funny story of this movie where the woman that plays Little Bill's wife is a real porn star, and during one of the scenes that she's having sex with, she
Uh-huh.
used a trick that was actually used in the porn days where she's like, just put it between my thighs and like go. It's like a simulated version of sex that looks a
Mhm.
lot more realistic that they would use in pornography.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a funny behind the scenes because
It's
they were
funny.
like, "Ma'am, no, we are not allowed to do that. No."
It's funny and a commentary about how so many men have bad aim, you know?
It's like, oh wait, nope. 10
Jack, I could
meters
do it
off the
again if
mark.
you need a close up. Yeah, a banger movie. Do we have any other thoughts before pivoting? Did it go down in your estimation this time, Cole, or have you always been about on this wavelength? Because I think you hit this like 7 out of 10-ish.
It went a little bit down. I still think it's good. I just think personally, I vibe more with the second half of Anderson's career,
Yeah, it's
um,
fair.
just the more mature part of it. But these are still pretty fascinating movies overall, especially this one.
I think there's a Tarantino comparison to be made, but unlike Tarantino, he definitively became more interesting in the later part of his career. As good as
Yeah.
I like these early ones, with Tarantino, that's less clear. I really think you could make the argument. I mean, I love Tarantino's, really a lot of the stuff that he's made. But those
Mhm.
first three in the 90s, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, it's like,
Mhm.
damn,
Yeah.
that's fucking heat, dude. Whereas I think that you would make the argument that PTA very clearly in the second half matures. But these two movies are beloved. I've always felt like I liked this movie less than the consensus. It's like 4 stars for me, and like solidly so. I really like it. I think it's
Mhm.
extremely funny. I think again, like the Jesse's girl scene, this fucking kid lighting firecrackers and stuff, like things that
My
I think
God.
about all the time. They're just so good. It reminds me a lot of Boogie Nights, which I think is another Raymond Chandler, if we're calling like Long Goodbye a parallel to this, kind of Raymond Chandler, druggy 90s, but that's more my speed, that's more my sense of humor, that's more my like
Mhm.
textual, all the things lining up. I love the character stuff here. It just feels like this is the Julianne Moore PTA movie for me. She's fucking
Yeah.
awesome in this.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is like her real breakthrough in American cinema. I mean, obviously she had Safe before this,
Right.
Vanya and 42nd
Shortcuts.
Street, Shortcuts. But this was like the moment where like Hollywood as an industry started to take notice of her.
hmm Yeah, she's really good here. And I think that there's just a real like a sense of
Mhm.
character,
Yeah.
delicacy. There's like stuff with Don Cheadle where you're just like you just have like oh, Buck, no.
God, the
Eh,
shootout in the fucking
The donut shop.
oh my God.
How much money did they have in the cash register that old boy fucking bought a stereo store?
Do you know how popular donut shops are out here?
But I would think that that would mean that they were just how much money was in the till, bro? Yeah, that
enough.
feels like a short film. Like that literally feels like it's like, and so does the
Yeah.
Jesse's girl scene where you're just like,
Mhm.
what fucking alien planet did this scene come from? The guy at the fucking booth pulls out this giant Glock. Like, what the hell? Where am I?
You're in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess. Time stands still.
we we're covering the part of PTA's career where he is finding his footing in these really ambitious
Mhm.
uh cinematic steps. And you could argue reasonably and perhaps correctly that the second half of his career is more interesting. And he certainly, I think, inarguably becomes more singular
Mhm.
in that period. But like
For sure.
Magnolia is number one for me, and Boogie Nights is three. I'm totally in love with this space in his
hmm
career, with the unfettered ambition of it. And it is indebted to so many other artists, but so much of him
hmm
is still in both of these movies. It's his
I
particular
mean, I
sense
think
of
it's
humor.
meaningful. We've been talking about the Valley, but like it's meaningful that like we're doing Goodfellas in the Valley and not in New York or
Yeah.
Jersey or wherever else,
Mhm.
whatever other place these other guys are from. We're here and we're not in Beverly Hills. We're not in West Hollywood. We are in this dude's epicenter, and you feel that, I think.
Yeah.
Which brings us to,
Fucking heater of all heaters, 1999's Magnolia. So like Boogie Nights is a sophomore feature by a 26-year-old director, and it feels like when you watch it, you're like, damn, that is one of the most sophomore ass movies ever. Where, a sophomore movie is going from Reservoir Dogs, which is nice, tight, to Pulp Fiction, which is like wild and all over the place. It's a movement from whatever level of ambition, but you got the base hit to trying to hit a grand slam. That's what I think of when I think of sophomore movie. And even though Magnolia is his third after Heart Eight and Boogie Nights, like to me, this is like this is the sophomore movie. Like this is Morgan, what'd you call it? The blank check after
yeah,
Boogie Nights. Like just take the reins off, take the gloves off, everybody get out of the room. This dude is about to get his industrial sized wok, turn the heat all the way up, and fucking scorch the kitchen. Like he just no restraint, no limit to his indulgence. And I would not be confused if this was a reviled movie. And I am also not confused that it is a beloved movie because it's just like it feels polar, not just polarizing, but like it's just such a fucking moonshot of a movie that it
Mhm.
either lands or it doesn't land. And I'm so used to it landing for people, like my film Twitter days, letterbox days. This is, I mean, at least from people my age and younger, an iconic and canonical film, I think. Fair to say,
So
generally
I
speaking.
did I didn't come to this movie until I was 19 or 20. Just because like the first PTA that I ever saw was Phantom Thread when it came out,
Mm.
and I was 17
That's
then.
crazy for me to think about. Keep going.
Yeah, I was 17 years old then, and it was like that's definitely amazing to look at. I don't really understand what's going on here. So I come back to it later through his earlier movies. I watched this, and at 20 years old, this is the best
Mhm.
movie you will ever see.
Yeah, totally.
It's either the best movie you'll ever see, or you'll be like, this is stupid.
Sure.
Uh,
It's a
and
time in your
I
life when you're very emotionally receptive to the approach.
Yeah, every character in this movie is a little bit of Paul Thomas Anderson's viewpoint
Mhm.
on something. He's like bifurcated, not bifurcated because that means two inherently, but he's sectioned off pieces of his emotional range and put them into these characters. And he follows all of them. Like there's no lead in this movie. The
Right.
closest it gets is Cruz, and
Just
even
because he's the most famous.
Yeah, movies
probably,
are.
yeah. And also because he gives like the most
Mhm.
performance,
I mean, you could argue that the quiz show is like the main character because
Sure.
that's
I was
what
gonna say
everyone
Stanley.
else rotates around,
Right.
is
Because it's right.
confused because of.
Yeah, so just to clarify there, you've got Stanley, a child on a quiz show. You've got Jimmy Gator, played by Philip Baker Hall, who's the host of that show. Jason Robards is like the executive of the production company of Big Earl Partridge Productions.
which we don't
Tom
find
Cruise
out
is his
until like
son.
2 hours into this movie
So in
when
a
it
way, the
flashes on the screen.
Robards, yeah, in a way, the Robards character, it's kind of the Robards and Baker Hall characters, the two patriarchs, if you will, because the story's main character is the concept of a filial relationship between parent and child. That is
Mhm.
what the movie is about. That is who the movie is about, is parents and their children,
And
and the biblical verse.
the seemingly infinite ways that nobody gets out of this life normal.
Uh, yeah, I would agree. No, no, no true central character. The other one I might try to argue for would be Melora Waters. Just it
Yeah,
ends on her. She's the first person who starts singing Wise Up, but she's also a fairly like, even though she is the daughter and she intersects with the cop, she's a fairly like side character. Yeah, so it's strange. Like the more I try to talk myself into ABC.
I think she is the one that oh fuck, that's even scrolled up and it kept going. Uh Cole sent something in the chat.
I
That's
have sent a graph connecting all these characters just in case anyone needs to reference.
Yeah. And in that way, yeah, Earl and the show end up becoming the most central. Although I feel like even though Claudia ends up being it's interesting because this is what I was
I
just thinking is like Claudia's kind of off to the side, but also is she?
I think Claudia is maybe the one that Paul feels the most personal empathy with.
Yeah, I think so.
Perhaps possibly because she is maybe the most Fiona Apple-esque
Yeah, the other
within the
character
film.
that might be true of is Phil, the Philip Seymour Hoffman character who is just
Yeah.
like a nurse. He's just
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
guy in the middle of all this chaos.
Who
By the way,
like
he murders a dog in this movie. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how Philip Seymour Hoffman kills a dog in this movie?
you
Yeah,
know, it was dog slaughter. That's how they would file that in the court, I
yeah.
think. Um but he fumbles some pills and the pills are heroin. Uh these things happen, but it did
Yeah.
happen.
Julianne
Uh,
Moore
It's,
screaming, "Suck my dick" into the camera.
yeah.
who the fuck do you
Um
think you are? You asked me a question, you called me.
You call
Don't
me
ask me
lady?
about. You asked me about my life.
I have felt that spiritually at many points in my life.
Now
I'm
you must
glad that you,
really
yeah,
shut the fuck up now. Please
you
shut the
must
fuck up.
really shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
That's a turn in this movie that I'm like,
The weakest in the
I
movie.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
her and
also
Melora
like,
Waters, respectfully.
and
Am
there's
I
a
off?
valley. There's a valley between those two though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did I lose you
I'm
on
just,
that part of it?
no, I'm just
A
trying to
little
think
bit,
how
yeah.
to go about ranking these performances.
It's
Number
tough
one,
because it's like if you want to, Paul Thomas Anderson himself is like has been like, I would cut like 30 minutes out of this movie. But then the
he already
question to
did.
me, yeah, but then the question to me is like, what do you cut then? Because that automatically means you have to rank these characters and their stories
I think you could
by
cut a lot of
importance,
the,
and you
the
can't
young
really.
kid, the young kid who does the rap, and then he saves Julianne Moore by getting in her car and robbing her wallet. You could cut almost all of that stuff. There's a clear subplot about a character referred to as the Worm that doesn't go anywhere because
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
very clearly got cut. So I think
Yeah.
you could trim that a little tighter. Uh, yeah, there's not one of these characters that I would get rid of by any means.
Some people would say get rid of William H. Macy, and I'm just
Fuck
like,
no.
You don't get the movie then. That's not
right.
you.
Yeah, like that doesn't make sense.
I agree that his is not the most compelling story, especially when it comes to like the job that he works at and he's gonna rob it and everything. But the whole bar sequence with him and the homeboy from Nashville, shouts to Altman, uh like all that stuff is incredible and it's really central emotional.
And
And I think Macy is just so good that like, no, we're not getting rid of him.
yeah,
Sorry.
Some other people would
and
probably say there is John C. Riley's plot, mainly because
Again, no.
him
I can't
him and John C. Riley together at the end, in particular,
yes.
is like
yeah.
you'd have
John
to
C.
cut that
Riley
too, and that's
gets
so good.
But then you've also got the opening scene, and it's like, oh my God, PTA, please.
yeah.
Like,
That's a funny scene. Like it plays really
have
well
you
for a
met a
crowd.
black person in your life at any point?
I was
One
thinking
has
about your
to assume
commentary.
yes, it's the
And
Valley, but
well, and
This is
his
also like the whitest movie ever made about the Valley in a
and
way that's
his
like, what?
wife is Maya Rudolph and his children are also black.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, I get no,
it,
when
it
you said
was
that I was
it was a
thinking about it
different time.
because obviously the woman who grills Tom Cruise is also a black woman. And I thought that character is certainly more dignified, right? Although we don't know much about her. She's just kind of a
Yeah.
vessel for talking shit to this proto
Mhm.
Andrew Tate motherfucker that he's playing.
God.
Um, I think a lot of the side plot with Riley could be cut, but one, he is really bringing it. He is a very interesting, delicate kind of character, like kind of a bumbling dumbass who
Mhm.
is like very straight-laced, obviously like notably Christian, Catholic, something, but he has these two incredible grace notes at the end of the movie, one with William H. Macy, and then the last one with Melora Waters, where you don't even see his face. You hear his voice and it's underneath the song that's playing, and then you just see like him and he's sitting on the bed with her. And it's like, yeah, you need this character's sensitivity, or the movie doesn't make sense. Like he's like the least damaged guy here, and that matters a lot for the story. Like
Mhm.
that he's like, I want to be the steady person that somebody can rely on, that like he's gonna help heal the world by just being a normal dude. Like you need that guy, or the movie fucking doesn't mean anything, or it's deeply cynical, one of the two.
Yeah. No, I think Riley is incredible in this movie.
I think the best performance in this movie is Jason Robards. My
That
actual goat who fucking beasts every time he gets in front of a camera.
He's
that was
really
the
fucking good.
conclusion. That was the conclusion I came to on this watch. It's different every time I watch it. Uh,
Mhm.
I have definitely said Melora Walters at some point in my
Yep,
life.
I
Um,
get it. It's such a
it's.
heartstring character.
I think before this recent watch, it would have been Macy, who I think just uniformly steps it up and knocks it out of the park, no matter what he's doing, pretty
hmm
much.
I think
Um,
when we were talking about like the Waters character, Claudia, as being central, I think it's because of what you learn at the end from Philip Baker Hall, her dad, and the ways that this movie ends up connecting to something like happiness or Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, where it's like, oh, she is like Stanley. Thematically, they're the most important characters for you to understand what the movie is about, which
Yeah.
makes them feel
Yeah.
somewhat central to me. And that's
Hmm.
where I could see the Waters performance sticking out so strongly. Like just
Hmm.
her acting in small moments, specifically the final shot, where she gives that smile kind of off camera. Not, she's not off camera, but like looking off camera, are potent, man. Like they are potent, potent, potent moments. She's
This
just
is
also very
my
screechy.
yeah. There's on a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, so everybody's on a lot of cocaine in this movie, I think.
Yeah.
This movie's Coke Central.
It's like cocaine the motion picture. Yeah, so we brought up her name. At this time, Paul Thomas Anderson, I don't know if dating or married, but
Not
obviously
married.
dating Fiona Apple, who in this very same year releases When the Pawn, which fucks me up to think about like a
Yeah.
couple being together and one of them puts out Magnolia and one of them puts out Win the Pawn. And Cole, if you're unaware, you should Google the title of that album and just look at it,
I'm
and you'll
aware
see.
of the
So
full.
you'll see what I'm saying. Like they're this,
Yeah.
it's the same archetype of thing where it's just like, okay, so you were just doing Criminal, and you were just doing Boogie Nights, and now you have lost your fucking mind.
And every painting you see in this movie was done by her,
That's amazing.
and he
Really?
directed all of the music videos for that album cycle.
It's an interesting note to me, and I think it's the right choice. But it's always been interesting to me that the music in this movie is done by Amy Mann, like a contemporary
Yeah.
of Fiona Apple in a very
Mhm.
similar style
Yeah.
and vein, not as piano centric as
Yeah.
Fiona is,
More,
but
more of like a folky soft
yes.
rock.
I think it's better for the attitude of this movie because I think Fiona Apple would tell all of these characters to grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
I think that she
Yeah,
would body check them and be like, "Look, you like truly when she says wise up, like yesterday, motherfucker, I'm tired of you."
She would pull
yeah.
the plug on Earl.
Yeah.
It,
She's punching
it,
TJ. She's punching Frank TJ Mackey right in his fucking mouth.
As she fucking should, queen.
Zero
she
hesitation.
she is Jimmy Gator's wife
Yeah,
pulling out of the driveway.
you you should know better.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I'm gonna drop frogs on all of you people.
And we do have to talk about the Amy Mann John Bryan collaboration on this.
There are two people in this movie that define the movie to me, and they're Robert Elswit and is it Brian? I've always said Brian. Is it Brian?
I think it's Bryan. I'm not
Okay.
100% on that, but
That would be the cinematographer who is in there with his steady cam going loco. Every shot in this movie, to a point, there are counter examples. Every shot in this movie is like flying on a fucking roller coaster constantly, like The Shining in quadruple time all the time. And then so when you get to these still moments of the movie, it's like, whoa, where are we? I feel stuck here with Tom Cruise and Jason Robards right now. Please get me the fuck out of here. And then there's also the music, which is by I think that the superior score is probably Punch Drunk Love, just because it's so
sure.
inventive, but it's so propulsive here. Together with the cinematography, the music is always leading you and leading you and leading you and leading you and leading you to the point like for 190 minutes, we are just fucking flying. And then again, when you get those moments where the music cuts and it's just Robards giving the life isn't short, it's long speech, and there's no music and there's no crazy cinematography, and you are just stuck in that emotion with these guys,
You're like, yeah, dude, it is pretty long. Now that
this
you
is
mention it.
tough. Yeah,
Whew.
tough stuff, brother.
Brian brings it on the score heavily, but this movie is not what it is without the Amy Mann soundtrack.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one is Loneliest Number song is a Harry Nilsson cover.
Mhm.
But these Wise Up and
Made me
Save
cry.
Me. Yeah, it will.
I was watching it
Um,
at the theater. I'm just like, I'm fucking doing it. I'm sorry. I'm crying,
yeah.
guys.
This is the normal reaction. And Save Me at the end, the latter of which was nominated for the Oscar and lost to who knows, who cares.
This was 99, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this lost to You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan.
Shut the fuck up forever, Phil Collins.
Yeah. I kind of get it, but it's wrong.
Ugh. It defines the characteristics of this movie so
Yeah.
innately. It's right front and center for the part of the movie where it stops and becomes a musical
Mhm.
with the Wise Up segment. But
That's such a, I was thinking about why that segment hits as hard as it does. And it's like on one hand, this is like the point that you're making, Cole, about like that is a fucking try hard thing to do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
play a pop song and have all my characters sing the lyrics to the pop song. That
Mhm.
is like a groan-inducing, eye-rolling creative choice that
Yeah.
completely fucking works for me on the
Hmm.
basis that there are so many like the characteristic of the movie is that yeah, of course these characters would break out in song because it's so earnest and so sentimental.
Hmm.
But the key to it, the power to it, is that Robard's character is like he's just taken liquid morphine, so he's like passed out in a bed, but he's
Yeah.
singing, right? Which is impossible. You're like, huh, okay, that's weird. And he also is not the type of character, he's like cocksucker motherfucker. He wouldn't be singing. Same thing with Julianne Moore. She's passed out in a car, but she wouldn't be singing. The Tom Cruise character would never be singing. So that
Yeah.
we've established that this would be out of character for these people, but the moment that the movie has brought us to has broken everything down, and it's just I don't know, there's just something powerful to it, specifically when it's Cruz. I have to admit, when it's Cruz in the driver's seat of the car and he's singing, I'm just like, oh, this fucks me up. Everything we've seen of this guy has been such a layers
Hmm.
and layers and layers and layers of this persona that he's made, and they have all just been broken through with a wrecking ball, and this is all that's left of him is this guy, and it just
and
it really gets me.
that's why everyone sings that song is because
Hmm.
that is the moment where all of the subterfuge for everyone in the movie goes away
Hmm.
Yeah.
and they're united by these connect interconnecting webs, but they're primarily united in the place in their lives that all of them have arrived at.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And it's it probably wouldn't work as well if the movie, the 2 hours and 10 minutes or whatever that preceded it weren't also extremely like gonzo.
Right.
Um,
Well, having
so
just like the one is the loneliest number thing, right? Like, because that
yeah.
almost is a musical number, even though no one's singing it. Is you go
Hmm.
through the entire song in sequence, everything's kind of cut to the music, so it's not even the first time that this has really happened.
Yeah. You get the setup earlier and then you get the payoff.
Mhm.
And,
That shit
the
rocks, man.
the so cards on the table. This is a top 10 picture for me. Used to be higher. It's fallen a little. This recent watch that I did yesterday and into today because I fell asleep. Uh, this is the one where I saw the strings the
Hmm.
most, I guess is how I would say it.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also like so many dramas like this are so stately and composed and, you know, sort of middle of the road.
Hmm.
Like, you think of like, I haven't even seen this movie, but like Ordinary People is this very, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it feels to me like this very like Oscar-y sort of put together, buttoned up version of a very sad story.
There's a genuine raw emotion in ordinary people that I think sets it above
Yeah,
most.
I'm not saying it's separate from these good movies. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that this is not a knock against these movies other than Magnolia. I'm just curious as to why this is the one movie for me that is like formally, physically, it embodies how far out on a rope these characters are
Hmm.
in their lives. It is completely like maximal in as much as it physically can be because these characters are completely at the maximum of their emotions. Like two of them are dying in real time.
Yeah.
Uh, many of them are recovering from the things that their parents did to them. One of them is in the midst of the thing that their parent is doing to them. It
Mhm.
completely meets the moment of where everybody is at in their lives formally, and there's no restraint to it. And I think it makes for such a fascinating comparison to almost every other movie that is like this, that is just about normal people and their foibles and insecurities and anxieties.
There's a raw, jangled set of nerves to this movie. and probably because Anderson, was like 28, coked out,
Mhm.
convinced that he was never going to have another chance to do this again. That just went full balls to the walls, full tilt, maxed out emotions at every single level, and it does give this movie a leg up over some of the more straight laced Oscar contenders. Thinking about this, sort of like the hyperlink movies that became
Yeah.
so
Oh,
popular.
so true.
I mean,
Quentin
compare this.
Tarantino,
I mean, compare this
Alejandro
to something like,
Iñárritu.
compare this to like fucking Crash or Battle, and it's like, oh God,
Yeah.
please
Oh
spare me.
yeah, Crash is a really good example of
Mhm.
like, of it's Crash is a good example of how easily this could be fucking insufferable.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
look, man, we're all connected and everything's
Mhm.
so beautiful but raw and
And oh
real.
my God, my maid died because I'm too racist. It's like,
Right.
jeez.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
American Beauty. If we're talking about Best Picture
oh
winners, even
God.
Yeah.
God, yes. God, why the fuck did they award American Beauty? I hate them.
So yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Lots more creativity, lots more reality in terms of these characters and like
Uh,
grittiness kind of. I don't know a better way to put that, like textured
and
quality.
and it gets you into such an emotionally open place that you buy into some of the more ridiculous stuff.
Hmm.
Like there's a biblical fucking plague in this movie.
Yeah, there is. There are choices with a capital C being made all throughout that I think could be completely fucking alienating. I really do. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of a miracle that it's as well regarded as it is. It speaks to how talented, and again, like I'll use the word virtuosic, because there's just like, I'm gonna try to do all this crazy stuff and mostly just pull it off like it's the only thing I was ever gonna, like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, obviously I'm gonna, have a biblical thing and like all these references to Exodus 8:2 strewn throughout the movie and like it's cheeky and clever and all this other stuff.
Frog legs, anybody?
Those frogs
mm,
are looking nasty. Big beefy boys, just
they were
huge.
they were tough.
Yeah.
Like
Fucking crashing
breaking
ambulance.
windshields, flipping over
The
ambulances.
ambulance that's like streaked with blood is one of my favorite
Yeah.
touches of this whole movie. I didn't bring this up, but one of my favorite touches in Boogie Nights is Philip Seymour Hoffman's character carrying around a clipboard with a pen inside the clipboard and he's chewing on the pen. That character makes
He's
me sad.
he's he's doing so much stuff with those little like corner of that movie. He does it
Hmm.
with both of these where he's
I agree.
just
He,
over and
he,
over again making little choices
I
within
was a
the
little
corner that
curious
he's in.
why Paul didn't tell us more about what the rabbit's foot is and what it's designed to do, and like, what if
Mhm.
no, 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 no,
Well,
no,
no,
nobody taking
no,
on that,
I'm just
and
saying
then
we
we're
got to
gonna
that
drop.
eventually with the final reckoning.
Right.
This is set up. They planned for this.
Ethan, the weight of your parents' transgressions weighs heavily on your soul, Ethan.
Our lives are the sum of our choices, Earl Partridge.
He was the fucking best.
Um, so Cole hasn't said it yet. I'll say it. This movie's really fucking similar to Shortcuts, and the comparison that I would like to make is less about Altman, although it's fun to kind of track the Altman
Mhm.
collaborators. Philip Baker Hall, Secret Honor. We got Julianne Moore, Shortcuts. We got
Mhm.
I mentioned the guy. I don't know. I can't think of what his name is. He's in the Blues Brothers as the Nazi, and he's in Nashville as like the main country singer guy, and he's white hair, and he's in this, and I don't fucking know what his name is. I'm sorry, but he's
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
What is his name?
it's in this giant ass cast list of like that.
Yes. Thankfully, there's only a few people in Magnolia, so it shouldn't be too hard to
Oh,
find.
Thomas Jane was the young Jimmy Gator in this movie. I just
Ah,
noticed that looking at the cast list.
yeah, he's in that.
Uh,
He's in the
there's
Jesse's Girl scene of Boogie Nights
great
there.
the great Todd Parker.
Todd Parker would not have
Uh,
pulled that.
that's the character's name from Boogie Nights.
Oh,
Sorry.
Just to add, you've also got
Haven Hamilton is his name
Mm,
in the movie Nashville. Henry Gibson.
yes.
you've
His name
also
is
got Michael Bowen in
name
this, who was
is
playing.
Thurston Howell in this movie, which I just never has there been a more made up guy.
But the connection that I wanted to draw with Altman, so Shortcuts, is an
Mhm.
adaptation of several different short stories by Raymond Cava, not including what we talk about when we talk about love, but that's the name of this collection, and there are stories from that in there. Um, one of the I'm not gonna be able to remember the big name of it from Shortcuts, but it's the one with Andy McDowell and Lyle Lovett is like the baker, and Andy McDowell's kid dies, and they bake the cake and everything. They're all Raymond Carver stories, but that's like one of his biggest and most famous. It's from his collection
Mhm.
called Cathedral. And I think there's a lot of fucking Carver in Magnolia, even though this is not an adaptation of Raven Carver. Because when I think about that Robards line, so I read Cathedral earlier this year, and the big thing with Carver stories to me is that they are not particularly dramatic. Usually, whatever the big incident was, guy lost his job, the kid dies, whatever, that doesn't usually happen in the story. You're usually living in the aftermath of something that happened. There's a man who's catatonic on the couch and his wife's trying to convince him to go back and live his life. You have two guys drying out in a rehab center, whatever. They're very kind of placid, and they're stories about kind of like what you were saying, Morgan, like everyday lives of people that have these demons and struggles. And it's about like the grace of exhaustion and how like just making it from one day to the next is a victory in your life. It's a subtle, thankless victory just to get through the day. And the stuff where it's like Julianne Moore and the pharmacist is like shooting her the eyes and doing all the suspicious. I was like, man, this is just so Raymond Carvery when I was watching it this time. Obviously, the shortcuts thing is
Mhm.
there and probably where most of that DNA comes from. Just these
Yeah.
snippets of people's lives, but everybody's got a story. Everybody suffers. Everybody quietly seethes with pain or
Mhm.
whatever. And it's very now Magnolia, pretty dramatic movie, but it rarely is explosively dramatic in life. And so this movie almost gives you more catharsis than Carver would. And why I use your name Cole because I know you're a big Altman guy. I think there's an argument to be made that like Shortcuts is just more sophisticated than this, more
Mhm.
down to earth and reserved. I would almost compare it to Raymond Carver's early short stories, where he's a very minimalist art author, and then
Yeah.
Magnolia is like his post-cathedral career, where he becomes much more emotionally geared, more vulnerable, a little more expansive, and that
Mhm.
that is what this movie feels like to me. A little bit of a stronger thematic thrust on the
Yeah.
parents and kids stuff, a
Mhm.
lot more sentimental, like a lot more sentimental
Yeah.
um, in a way that works for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he Anderson was clearly working through some stuff, and that shows here. And I probably would have gone nuts for it when I saw it had I not seen Shortcuts
Mm.
first. I do think there's a little bit of, having seen the inspiration first that just kind of beats it to the punch for
It's
me.
interesting that they're the same
Just in my,
decade.
Mhm.
Like that they're not like, Nashville, for instance, is like, something that you would be looking up to versus Shortcuts is like the same guy doing a similar thing. That also I think just speaks to the fact that Altman's got published material that he's working with, right?
Yeah.
Here I can almost point to some unevenness and be like, well, this character versus that character. Whereas Altman not only has this great short story author, but he just gets to pick and choose which stories he wants to do. It's not like he has to do a comprehensive number. He can just pick the seven that he thinks are the best.
Right. That were actually, I believe, I think it was 9 or 10 stories that
Yeah.
were assembled and then, published as like and it did an add-on to the film. You could like go out and buy the short story collection.
hmm Yeah, I need to read. I want to rewatch Shortcuts, but I want to actually have read all the stories that
Hmm.
are in it. I've probably read three or four, and
Yeah.
that's it. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, great author.
Yeah.
Where I'm calling from is a story that everybody should read. I cried, but that's the second time I was talking about crying on this episode. I might just be a little softy. Who knows?
I think that's for a movie like Magnolia.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, sometimes I I like subtle, I like suggestive. I like
Mhm.
Phantom Thread. I don't think Phantom Thread is the subtlest movie in the world or anything, but it's
So,
not like bombastic. And I like a little reserved. I like a little Hirokazu Koreeda, just gentle. But
mhm.
sometimes what does John C. Riley say? It's good to rock out sometimes, but not every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Tosses
And
the
then,
coffee in the
yeah,
sink.
and, my preference for Altman is, just more personal
Hmm.
preference for storytelling over everything else. But if you're gonna be influenced by someone, be influenced by the best. Go aim for the best.
And I would say that the way that he formally takes after Kubrick so much, again with the steady cam, rocking
Hmm.
around, Altman movies don't look like this. You know, they might have a similar setup in terms of character and writing and just like how they function, but he
Altman has
doesn't.
a more documentary sense to
Mhm.
his styling.
And then like the soft glow of a McCabe and Mrs. Miller, maybe,
Hmm.
like that kind of like dreamy aesthetic. That comes through with Paul sometimes, but Paul's way more Scorsese and Kubrick on that side of the house, I would say.
Yeah, much more
Even even
nature
with
focused.
even
Maybe
with
the
Har
Altman that sticks out would be like his surrealism movies, like Three Women and
Brewster McCloud.
Images, like where those kind of get into just like so much wacky weirdness. And then I talked about it earlier, The Long Goodbye, kind of just the detective, hazy. There's a lot of that in Inherent Vice for sure. Philip Baker Hall and John C. Riley, greatly missed. Please put them in your movies again? Question mark.
I got a clip of John C. Riley on somebody's podcast the other day where he they're still very close friends, him and their families and all that. But one day John was said to him, you don't have to cast me in all your movies just because we're friends. And then he never cast me in another movie of his ever again.
John C. Riley's one of those actors like John Goodman, for example, where I'm like, have I ever disliked them in anything?
Yeah, I mean, with him, you've got like Will Ferrell comedies, so yeah, like there's
I
probably
mean,
some candidates, but
yeah, but like, God, who wants to fucking count those?
yeah, he was in that what Holmes and Watson thing or
Mhm.
something, but like even then, like I usually like him in a Step Brothers, I like him in Talladega Nights, so even then, big fan of him in the movie Chicago.
He's good in Chicago.
Yeah, he's the cuck husband.
Yeah, Mr.
Uh,
Twi-
Cellophane.
in the
yes.
twisted birth canal of the Colosseum.
Why does Rob Marshall have a career? I mean, I know it's because Chicago won like 7 Oscars, but
Yeah.
the
One
goodwill
also
is
wonders
running
why
over.
that happened.
Mm.
Well, would we like to dig into why that happened?
No, I don't think you have the time.
Our good friend Harvey.
Hmm.
Ah, yeah, there's that. Yeah,
Not
I'm
our
trying to think if
friend.
there's
I want to be very clear about that. Not our we don't I don't know his raggedy ass.
I was trying to think if there's any other like key idea to take out of this one. Parents and children, it's like the Wonderkind, and you definitely have that sense of like, Paul as the kid in that situation. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know his relationship with his parents, but just like the pressure of being the debutante, of being,
I,
the new hotness.
I mean, the scene, I'm surprised none of us have brought it up yet, but the scene where Frank talks to Earl on his deathbed and, Earl's
Mhm.
like basically already gone is
Yeah.
just like, you have some stuff to work out, huh?
Yeah. That scene
Yeah.
really gets me. I mean, it really
It's a really fucking good scene.
it's I wrote about it in the letterbox thing that I did today because I don't think I ever had before. It's because it has nothing to do with being forgiven. Because he, like you said, he's already gone. He's already got the liquid morphine. I
Yeah.
I clocked that detail very much this time where it's like, oh yeah, I know that Tom Cruise is about to walk through the door. Phil, I swear to God, I will drop kick those fucking dogs if they come
He
near me.
tells him
Two
twice.
times. Um, but it's obviously one, it's the fact that Cruz rails against him. Like that he just unleashes all of his fury and really you get the sense of the character reliving it because his mother also died in a very similar fashion. So he's living through this the
Mhm.
second time as a child.
Yeah.
And then he obviously like breaks down. But it's the fact that you see him get the drops, you know that he's not really conscious for it. So it has nothing to do, similar to Jimmy, right? The Philip
Mhm.
Baker Hall character, who is
Yeah.
asking to be forgiven by his wife and daughter and isn't. Because it's not about being forgiven, because your bastard ass doesn't deserve to be forgiven. But it's
Mhm.
about forgiving because it unburdens you as a person to let fucking go of that, to really let it go, to really forgive so that you're
Yeah.
not carrying it around with you and turning it into your fucking awful personality.
It's not going to stop.
It's that. So give up.
We
The
we haven't really hit on Cruz in this discussion, almost
I
because it's like a
it's his
foregone conclusion.
it's his career best performance. Don't even mess with me about Eyes Wide Shut. That's his second best. I give you second, but this is the
No, you're
one.
correct.
This is the one.
It's
I think
insane to do this and Eyes Wide Shut in the same
In the
fucking
same
year.
fucking
yeah.
year? And then he never really did anything that interesting again. Respectfully, I mean, I
Well,
love Mission Impossible.
I mean, what's the closest? Collateral?
Vanilla
Collateral,
Sky.
The
Vanilla
Spielberg
Sky. Yeah,
Collateral.
well, Vanilla Sky is a great shot actually, because that is a weird movie that I would say falls more in this category and
For
less in
sure.
the latter category for sure. So yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Cameron Crowe's Magnolia?
Unwatchable. Can you
I'd
imagine
rather
Paul
not.
Thomas Anderson's Vanilla Sky?
Paul Thomas Anderson's Aloha.
He should work with Emma Stone. No, it's
I love
Cruise
that.
in '99. He's really at about the peak of his sex symbol star power, which peaks between this and Mission Impossible 2, somewhere in that vague area of
Mhm.
the turn of the decade. He's with Kidman, but about to not be.
Mhm.
Um, and he's just playing someone vile, unlikable, who he's in his tidy whities talking to this woman about fucking I'm gonna go get pussy and pussy and pussy and pussy
Does a
and
full somersault.
a
Like a like a toddler trying to
Matt,
impress his babysitter.
are we really surprised by the Matt Lauer shit? I'm just asking. I'm just
Oh
asking.
my
The
God.
signs were there, but this is kind of before that Katie Holmes, Oprah Couch, Matt Lauer rupture.
Yeah.
But he's so vulnerable in a way. Like by the end, obviously, but just to
Mhm.
do this is just so unsavory. It's
He
And he,
so
and he would never
his
do this now.
no.
no.
Unless he
I'm
shocks us
I'm
all in the Inarritu film. I don't know.
I'm interested to see that, but it's going to be nothing like this.
No.
Uh
Yeah, no.
but I his like the obvious banner moment in this movie is that sort of monologue he does that's like the Oscar clip of whatever
Mhm.
plays during his nomination.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think his best moment in this movie is after the I'm quietly judging you and the phone call and he goes back out where he
Oh, yeah.
flips the table
Oh
and he's
yeah.
like he
Yes.
is
Yes.
delivering his spiel and he's saying all the things and he's hitting all his marks, but
But you can tell there's
there's
something
nothing
Yeah.
there's
There's a,
nothing invested in what he's saying behind his eyes in that moment.
mhm.
except when he says men are shit. And you can
Yeah.
almost tell he's thinking about his father and he's thinking
Yeah.
about his mother. He's thinking about how his mother died because his dad was an asshole who wanted to go get pussy and pussy and pussy and abandoned the family and didn't give a shit. And he's like,
Mhm.
I'm trash. These people in front of me are fucking trash. That's the only part of that whole monologue that feels honest to me.
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah,
same
to
thing.
to
That is so
to the
good.
point to the point where like you almost if especially if you haven't seen the movie, you think it's about to turn on a dime, that whole speech where he's like
Yeah.
about to turn on the people until he's like that's what they say, isn't it? And then you realize he's
Yeah.
still
Still
living,
performing.
Mhm.
yeah.
To think he fucking lost to Michael Caine for the Cider House rules
Nobody has seen that movie in 20
since
years.
1999.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
99. Yeah. Goodness gracious. Yeah, we could definitely debate on I said not Eyes Wide Shut. It's this. It's this.
Yeah,
It's
it
because
is.
of the
Yeah.
layers. It's because of the layers of the persona of Mackie and how those all get broken down. But again, how he's like, I'll drop kick the dogs and like all this stuff. I think that the Eyes Wide Shut is just such a fascinating use of his star power that
Hmm.
that ends up becoming the thing. We'll have to we in all the episodes we've ever done, we've never done Eyes Wide Shut. So one day in the festive Christmas season,
I was about
we
to
will
say the
have to
holidays are coming up.
we will have to get with Nicole Kidman and fuck.
Her
Like
Majesty
just
is defrosting, you know?
get ourselves some Snackwell cookies.
Get get our man from New Zealand on the line,
Yeah, no
Mhm.
doubt.
who's
No
also
doubt.
I
the
mean,
biggest fan.
What are we doing? The Criterion edition's coming out in November. Let's time it around that.
Yeah, that
Sure.
makes sense to
Yeah.
me. Makes good
Um,
sense.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, people.
I think about this movie, Magnolia, all the time, and there's one thing in particular that has sort of stuck in my craw about it. So this movie that changed the way that I view art and gave me a broader perspective on life when I was a younger person and showed parts of myself that I could have been, that I was, that I am, all of that. And I looked and a few years ago when I was looking up stuff about it. This came out the year of my birth.
Mm.
What I did not know until looking this up is that it premiered in America and a worldwide premiere was in Los Angeles on the day of my birth,
Ah,
Hey,
which sounds like a thing that people would just say in the movies,
right, right.
but it did happen.
Surely this is not just coincidence.
But
but
it
it
did
did happen.
happen.
I, there's so much of this movie that's like, you zoom in on the painting and the but it did happen is on the bottom of it, and it's like, this is so
Mhm.
fucking corny. Go off.
You're like, oh my God, God
Go
bless.
off.
Fiona
I,
cutting it out of a newspaper or whatever with an X-Acto knife.
no wonder she ran. No wonder. No wonder. That's all I gotta
Oh
say.
yeah. Oh,
Mm.
one evening with Quentin and Paul coked out where they are just nonstop gibbering at each other about their
I,
favorite 1970s VHS classics. Fuck
give
me.
me the fucking gun.
Because you
Like,
know that at some point it veered, as Morgan was saying, into like porn. And they're like, oh, well, this director of pornography.
give me the machine gun. I am finishing both of them.
Listen, I've had that conversation.
Yeah.
I've been on one end or the other of that conversation.
But not
And
with
you
not with
just
those two men while they're on cocaine.
Yeah.
not not while any of us were coked out and not in front of or with our girlfriends. There is such a thing as a time and a place.
Discretion,
Time and place. Time and place. Thank you.
context.
Thank you, Tati Westbrook. Time and place.
Yeah, Magnolia. I'm glad that we got to talk about this one. This is I think the last time that I saw this movie was just a few years ago. It's not like it's been forever, but it's been a long enough time that it was a really I got to catch up with this 35 millimeter.
Ooh.
Excellent prints, really good looking. One of the reels was damaged and had like a little string running through the middle of it, but other than that, I mean, pristine and a good movie to get to see that way because it is just such a cinematography extravaganza just moving around. So, uh,
Yeah.
um, uh, I think what I would say is I would compare this to two movies, one for each of you that you don't like. I would compare it a little bit to like Moulin Rouge, where it's just like, what if we made
Sure.
the choice to be extra
Yeah.
every time? And then the other one I would compare it to, Cole, this one's for you, is like Synecdoche, New York, where it's like, what if we took the emotions to 11 and we were extra all the time? Like everything was just like over the top. So you really have to buy into the artist and his vision because it is so extreme, it is so uncompromised in terms of the vision. There are two movies that make me feel a similar way. There are two movies I think have a similar canonical position again among like millennial Gen Z type viewers because it is a movie where if you see this shit when you're in high school, it changes the way that you feel about life a little, which sounds dramatic, but it pierces something that a lot of other movies don't even really try to pierce in the way like a good pop song or indie song as the case may be tries to pierce into your heart emotionally, and you hear that breakup song for the first time when you're 15 years old and you're like, holy shit, he gets me. He Ben Gibbard knows me.
Yeah. The Magnolia is the equivalent of the 16-minute long closer, Goodbye Sky Harbor on Jimmy Eat World's Clarity.
100%. Amazing, amazing comparison. But I think this movie, yeah, hell, I've got a tattoo of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, so there's a comparison for you musically.
Hmm.
I think that album and this movie taught me that sometimes it's not about control. Sometimes it's not about a lack of flaws. It's about swinging as hard as you can It's about throwing the ball as fast as you can. This is a pitcher who might throw 4 walks in a row, or he throws a 110-mile-an-hour strike that you cannot possibly swing at. It's that kind of movie. Like it's just you to Morgan's point about Boogie Nights. If you tried to curb anything that it's doing, you would threaten to ruin the entire thing. You would lose all the power that it has.
You have to let it be a singular vision.
hmm Go nuts. And then that ultimately mellows out and evolves into those future movies, some of which we'll be talking about soon. So,
Mhm.
an essential building block towards the future. And I think
Mhm.
that kind of gets us to the end here. So, any closing thoughts, any final thoughts before we close it out?
I would say that both of these are pretty good movies. I'm not as high on them as everybody else, but you can see the building blocks of a possible all-time director starting right here. And of course, it'll be interesting to talk about, his more evolved form in the next
Yeah.
episode. And
Well,
uh,
his
the-
more evolved form, but we are going to be talking about movies that are more difficult, I think, on the next one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because the two that we've chosen are not There Will Be Blood. They are not,
Phantom Thread.
I was gonna say I don't know how well loved. I know I love that movie. I don't know that how well loved it is, but it did get the Oscar nom. But The
I'll,
Master and
I'll-
Inherent Vice are again they're pinch-on adaptations. One of them loose, one of them less loose.
yeah.
But they are elusive. So it'll be interesting to kind of talk about our feelings about them in addition to how we interpret them um,
Mhm.
next.
Yeah, and I'll throw my cards on the table real quick. Phantom Thread's my favorite PTA.
I very so I recently rejiggered my favorites list. For a long time, Phantom Thread was my favorite, and then I wound up putting There Will Be Blood over it on the big list. But those are the
Mhm.
two for me, with Magnolia as like the more flawed third 5 star
I
of
literally
of the
just had a
bunch.
discussion about this last night. Like, what's your favorite versus like what you think is best is, and whether that's
Yeah.
even like a dichotomy worth having.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's a very meaningful one because there's a lot of times where I'm like, no, I'm just picking this one because it's Vive l'Amour, best Simon Leong movie for me. My favorite, probably still Rebels of the Neon God because it's like motorcycle, neon, chain smoking in the arcade kind of movie. Bass line goes bump, 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 bump. And that's just more my shit. That's just what I like. Um, yeah. I go back and forth. Phantom Thread's such a mature and wonderful movie, but we'll have
Mhm.
time to talk about those later. We're going to talk about the weird ones with our very favorite actor, Joaquin Phoenix, on the next.
Everybody's number one guy.
It's been a fun one. We enjoyed getting to dig back into the early days of Paul Thomas Anderson's much celebrated career. And we're looking forward to One Battle After Another, which will be coming out soon. So look for another episode between now and then. And obviously, we'll be getting back together to talk about the new release and Tiana Taylor and Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn and all the goodness that comes with that. So
All you
with
got
that,
is fucking nunchucks.
thank you, Sensei. Rug rolls off.
If I don't 5 star that movie, it's not me.
Somebody else got the phone. And that's it for us. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you, Cole, Morgan, and we'll talk to you guys on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.